reflectivity, a little bit of that yellowish coloring. That's where you start to see that get closer to the surface. That's where we're seeing that hail core develop. A good idea to see a hail core is hail is really reflective. So when energy is shot out from the radar, you can kind of get a little bit more of a high resolution picture of it, or better coloring. And you can see right here, kind of making its way through Mercer County right now, that towering of that yellow is the hail core that's making its way through the system. And it's pretty high up there as well. That hail core reaching almost 30,000 feet. And you can see some of these storms still seeing that hail core obviously near the surface, but these storms, once you get to the bulk of them, are very close to the surface here. That lower line you're seeing at that right here around my finger, that's 10,000 feet. You can see how low these storms are to the surface, guys. So of course the hail core is a big threat here as well, but with these low storms to the surface, we're also talking about that shear and those elevated tornado risks here as well, guys.
Good explanation there, yeah, and it's really cool to see the 3D view of the storm too. That is not a view that we get to see very often, and great breakdown and analysis of that too. It's a very, very helpful view to see how tall these storms are getting. Some of these storm tops, by the way, are already approaching 50,000 feet, wow, which is remarkable. That is very tall in the sky. It's indicative of just how quickly these storms are growing in intensity. There's a lot of upward motion with these things, so that's why we're seeing these fill in very quickly. Shout out to our future track model too. I mean, that thing was spot on. Oh yeah. When we were doing our streams here earlier today, showing this coverage kind of exploding, if you will, around the 6 o'clock hour, right in this zone. That is exactly what we're seeing right now play out on your screen and on the radar. You notice again, getting a couple more of these severe thunderstorm warnings out of here, kind of in the groove of things. Look at that, a new one that now is just southwest of Geneseo. That includes Orion and also would overlap with Woodhull and Cambridge as well. But another strong cell that looks like it'll have a hail threat here in no time, just west of Woodhull. Now that one is moving more to the northeast as opposed to due east. So you're noticing a difference. The storms closer to the front are moving due east practically. The ones away from the front are moving more to the northeast. And it's the northeast one, moving on that, where you're going to have the hail. It's the ones moving due east that we have to keep an eye on for the tornado threat. Just really concerned that we see in that upper right-hand corner too, and let's go to that full screen again, is that they're stressing from the help of our algorithm that this can very likely cause some considerable damage. I don't know if you noticed that, Andrew. Oh, yep, right there on the tag there. That's I'm really concerned about there, and I think because of the hail that is getting larger and larger and larger just north of Alexis. And at least that cell that we see west of Woodhull. Yeah, it's still maintaining itself, and it's impressively large, the amount of real estate that it's covering compared to its cousins or brothers and sisters that surround it. This one definitely has that larger hail size covering more real estate. And if you put the loop on this to see where these individual cells are going, the one in Alexis, again, is a little bit closer to the front, which is sitting in northern Knox, southern Henry County. That's moving more due east, while you have this other cell that's popped up recently just west of Kewanee, now getting that green color indicating golf ball size. That's near Bishop Hill. Yeah. That one moving a little bit northeast, but still Kewanee could get kind of grazed by that with some of that golf ball size hail before it heads into Anawan and crosses Interstate 80. I think what's kind of interesting too here, Andrew, is the fact that we are the duration of these storms that get to a point where it gets to that peak size of hail and then slowly begins to drop. And that's kind of like in a half an hour, 45-minute span or so, okay? And then we start seeing that with that downdraft kind of taking over, probably allows those hailstones to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So, you know, it takes about a half an hour or so to get to that point, if that makes any sense, Andrew, when it comes to that peak hail size that we're noticing from these cluster of storms that are located just south and east of the Quad Cities. Yeah, you may get some cycling action going on. Yeah, right. Where you get that really fast updraft, it can't sustain itself, it comes back down, a new one forms, starts getting the robust hail again. So it's kind of coming in waves here, coming in cycles very frequently. That's right. I believe we can actually go to, I believe we already be able to get Morgan back on with the urban in the beast itself. And Morgan, tell us where you are. I think you're still in Alexis. And more importantly, what are you seeing?
Yeah, right now we are in Alexis, and I do apologize. This is a very finicky spot when it comes to any signal. We've just been dropping calls, but I think we're at a good spot now, and hopefully you guys can hear and see me. But yeah, we have been seeing you know, frequent lightning. We are starting to get a little bit of rain. I really like where we are. We are just outside of downtown Alexis right now, but we are right on the edge of just watching these train of storms, again, producing large hail. But I want to point out what's happening just out to my right.
Whoa.
If you can see this. There's kind of a little bit of a kind of a wall cloud looking like it's taking shape. So we're going to be watching that for sure. Kind of an eerie sight there, but yeah, we're just kind of, again, directly ahead of us is that line of storms that you guys have been tracking and that's been warned so far. So we're basically in a good spot to sit here and just kind of watch this take to fruition.
Mark, is that camera facing north and where you are? I'm not sure if she can hear us.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, we just what we're going to try and do is kind of get the radar where you are, that location, and see if we are noticing any type of rotation. But no question, from what you are seeing and what we are seeing.
Yeah, if you can hear me, the camera is pointing towards Seton.
Okay. And we're going to try and see if we can actually get that on the radar. Hold on for a minute there, Morgan. We're going to, let me go to Andrew here. He's got control of the radar and see if we're able to get a little insight on that. And I think we now have a tornado warning out, actually, that just popped up here. Let's see here. So here's Seton, and Alexis is right there. And basically, Morgan is looking off to the north and west. So are we here, Andrew, looking at, is this the one that the tornado warning?
This one does not have the tornado warning. I can pop that up really quick there. And this would be further east. I believe we're talking about, yes, southeastern Henry County going into southwestern Bureau County.
Oh, there it is.
This warning
Yep.
does include Kewaunee and Galva.
And then there we go. This is our reflectivity. We're going to go and put this in velocity mode here. And it looks like the circulation is almost right on top of Kewaunee, wouldn't you say? Or just south and west. Oh, that looks really distinctive right there.
There you can see it,
Yeah.
just coming out of Galva, just southwest of town. That is definitely a very strong circulation signature that's organizing. Should we go ahead and put a track on that? You see the warning, I believe, goes until 7:15. Again, for Kewaunee, Galva, right up into southwestern Bureau County. So this is what we're focusing on, is this little area of spin, this rotation, heading right in that direction. And there's your times of arrival. Kewaunee basically there now. It is 6:32. You've got Neponsit in there at 6:45, and then getting into areas near Mineral potentially at 6:48. But there you have it, our first tornado warning of this severe weather event of the evening, heading right there near Kewaunee.
Off toward the north and east. So not only have to worry about the possibility of even seeing that tornado, but also some hail that's going on with it as well. These are storms that are, like I said, and like we've been stressing here, developing right along and just south of this warm front. The Quad Cities is actually located just north of that boundary itself, but it doesn't mean we're in the clear as far as seeing severe weather, okay? There is a possibility we could be talking about still some hail in areas from the Quad Cities and northward, but along and south of that boundary, we may see one of several tornadoes that may be popping up when it comes to our southern viewing hometown. So that's something we'll keep an eye on. But you can see there is Kewaunee, there is Neponsit, there is Sheffield. This storm continues to make its way off to the north and east. There's that tornado warning polygon that we see there, even extending even farther with severe thunderstorm warnings, making sure everyone is well aware of this particular storm that continues to make its way off to the north and east, and likely we're probably even seeing some hail just even maybe just north and east of this rotation that's going on. And there's a hail that we see here that could very likely, at least with past history with these storms in the past hour or so, this could very likely be dumping some golf ball size hail. And sure enough, that color there that's indicating about 2 inches there, that's even bigger maybe than golf ball size hail. But that's something we'll keep an eye on. The algorithm is showing that that could be golf ball size hail that is taking place just outside of the town of Kewaunee as that continues continues to make its way off toward the north and east. So if you're in the path of this particular storm, you know, take cover. There could be some brief power outages that may be going on as well with this storm as it makes its way off to the northeast, but also to keep in mind with that possible tornado that we see on the radar itself. So it is radar indicated that there is some type of spin that is going on, some type of rotation that is taking place, and looks like, would you say, Andrew, I think we just got an update on the frame itself. Is it pretty much right on top of Kewaunee or close to it?
It looks like we're still just a little bit further to the southwest there, but we're getting very close to that being right on top of Kewaunee. Looks like, yeah, very shortly here. If you look at the data there,
right,
the green versus the red, just southwest of town.
Flow going in, the red is actually going away from the radar, so that's where your circulation is. If you're watching us, Kewaunee, we are hoping that you are in your safe place. Try to put as many walls between you and the storm outside. Also make sure if you're going to lose power, have that phone ready to go, okay? If it's fully charged, you're going to be in pretty good shape, but you can actually go to that News 8 Plus app and you can actually check in, or I should say our StormTrack 8 app, and you can coincide with us as far as what we're seeing on the radar, the movement, you name it, and any additional information from the National Weather Service as well. So this is a fantastic tool to have when you're in a situation like this, especially when you're hunkered down in your safe place.
And we have some new video. John Diaz has some new video coming in from these storms, I believe.
Let's take a look at it. This is from Deanna. She's in Little York. This is facing west, and it really kind of gives you an idea of everything that folks are seeing out there. And we're getting so many videos and photographs. We want to thank you so much for sending those in. We showed a few of them earlier of just the size of that hail. So a lot of those coming in. Please continue to send those in. But I'm going to pause it right there if you guys want to just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Right there.
To give us a sense of what it is we're looking at there.
Oh my goodness.
Would you say that's a wall cloud right there, Andrew?
That is a very pronounced wall cloud. It is also very low to the ground, which is concerning.
Yep.
Because when it's that low, it does not take much to set things in motion to get tornado development. That is very impressive.
And John, do you know how long that, how close was that video? How recent is that video, by the way?
Deanna sent that to us at 6:25, so it's about 12 minutes ago that we got it.
Oh, wow. And that is really impressive that we see. This was just out of Little York itself. That is really
south
impressive.
of Aledo looking west.
Unbelievable. Wow. And that is, and Andrew just said it right. I mean, that is a scary scene because that is a very low-based cloud deck that we see there, and that is a concern certainly for that possible tornado that may be coming out of that storm. Of course, very much a similar view, I bet, that we're noticing right around the Kewaunee area as well.
Yeah, very, very impressive view there. And it just goes to show what these storms can do once they latch onto that boundary, which is sitting just right to the south of that region. Looks like a lot of lightning taking place with that storm as well, based on that video. That is very impressive. It's kind of hard to see, but there might be some mammatus clouds.
A wide view of what's been taking place here. And everything has been pretty much developing just south and east of the Quad Cities. We got one little cell right around the immediate Quad Cities. Looks like it's kind of dying off a little bit there. So that's some good news. For anyone who's in the booth, if you can actually move the camera on top of the call building in downtown Davenport, if you can move that just toward the west, let us know in our ears and we'll take it from there. But you can see how everything's really popping up pretty much south and east of the Quad Cities. Numerous warnings that we're noticing here, mainly severe thunderstorm warnings, but we have this one tornado warning just outside of Kewaunee, making its way toward southwestern Bureau County. That may be impacting the Ponset. There it is right there. And you can see how we got these hash lines located in these thunderstorm warnings. Those warnings with those storms have the potential to produce producing a tornado as well. But this is a tornado warning that we have for Kewaunee, extending in towards Sheffield, Neponset, even around Buda. That is until around 7:15. And hail size, it could be baseball size that we could be getting from these storms, which is now located just north and west of Kewaunee. Our algorithms are showing golf ball size, but still, even with those different sizes, that can still cause some major damage, especially if you have your automobile outside. Okay, so that's what we're concerned about. You're watching us in Sheffield. This storm is definitely moving in your direction. We'll see if this storm is, when it comes to hail, is going to fall apart. Right now, it's still holding its own as it makes its way off toward the northeast. A nice cell of possibly some hail, even just southwest of Princeton. That will certainly be impacting the Princeton area within maybe just a few minutes time. So we're watching these storms. We got the warnings going on. Like I said, this extends even farther westward into southeastern Iowa. Let's see if we can make our way into southeastern Iowa. We can see some of the warnings going on in Mercer County, in Henry County, into Mercer County, parts of northern Warren going into Henderson. Another warning that we see here with a thicker polygon indicating the potential maybe for a tornado coming up with these cluster of storms that are making its way in this general area. And you can see tornado development possible with these storms that are making its way through this area from Minneapolis to Aquaka, and then even farther west, our second tornado warning of the night that covers all of Lee County, Iowa here until around 7:45. So Mount Pleasant, New London, and Winfield, you're in the path of that storm, which is likely still well west around Fairfield, but moving very quickly from west to east and likely to circulation. Oh, my goodness. Andrew, you beat me to it. You beat me to it, Andrew. That's where we're like... We're likely seeing that tornado circulation right here around Fairfield and pushing his way eastward. So Mount Pleasant, time right now for you is 6:41, 7:04. We're looking at with that possible circulation impacting you. 7:15 over in New London. Salem, maybe around 7 o'clock for you with that storm making its way from west to east. Andrew, I think we got some new video or got a live shot with the help of Morgan.
Yeah, it sounds like the lightning is ramping up where she is at there in Alexis. You can see absolutely where the rain is pouring down right now. Lots and lots of lightning. These storms, because they are so loaded with hail, are going to be prolific lightning producers. So I mean, you look at the count, the lightning count on the radar, we're now surpassing 400 strikes in that region here just in the last few minutes alone, and it continues to escalate those numbers. So that means the storms are still maintaining or they're strengthening. So again, that's the live look there in Alexis from the Beast. The main part of that storm, just looking at radar, it is just about to come into the west side of town with that hail threat. We've been watching our hail tracker. Right now, it looks like the size is coming down a little bit, which is good, pegging that current size at quarter, so inch in diameter hail, now getting ready to move into the immediate Lexus area. And there is that well-defined wall cloud still sitting there, hanging very low in the sky. That is the area that we watch for tornado development. If something was going to develop, it would be right there. And if you sit on this image long enough, you can see the spin. The entire storm is spinning right now.
That is really impressive. And this looks like it's going to be pretty close to where they are. They're going to keep a close watch on it, but if they see anything, they're going to definitely move and get away from this particular wall cloud. You certainly don't want to be in that situation where it drops down right on top of you. So Morgan has been in this situation before, and if she sees that, she's going to eventually move here, but that is still fairly an impressive, looks like a wall cloud that you see there, because if you do look carefully, there looks like to be some type of circulation.
Can we have Morgan pan to the left, because I want you to see the upward motion of this wall cloud on the leading edge of it. If you just zoom in to the leading edge of that, look at how quickly those clouds are rising up into what we call the mesocyclone, the spinning area of the storm. Those winds are moving. And that's why we've been harping on this tornado threat today down in that region. There's a lot of spinning, a lot of upward motion going on. That's really impressive.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the combinations here that we've been dealing with the possibility of seeing several rounds of tornadoes in this area south and east of the Quad Cities because, you know, we have the instability, but also, too, keep in mind, we have that shear that is going on. We've got speed shear, increasing change in speed with height. We got directional shear that we've been kind of hinting on for the past few days when it comes to this possible event of severe weather. And that's that change in wind direction with height. So you put those two together and you're certainly going to help enhance these storms to become supercellular. And that's kind of what we're seeing right here. And yeah, you can certainly see that circulation taking place, and it's still, you see the condensation that's going on, and at the same time, you're seeing that rotation going on as well. Once again, just outside of the Alexis area. That's really impressive there, Andrew.
I got to say, and I've been here 8 years, and we've had the Beast a very long time. This is some of the most impressive imagery and video that I have seen come in from the Beast when it comes to an active wall cloud in this situation. The crispness of the image, the definition of the wall cloud, it's easy to see. One of the things about this time of year is these storms are not loaded with moisture, with heavy rain. There's no corn coming up. There's no vegetation. We don't have all this humidity. So we get a really nice, clean shot of the storm. And honestly, James, I think that's the cleanest shot of a wall cloud I have seen us get from the Beast. That is incredible.
Very much so. And just north of that circulation is where we're likely getting that large hail as well. That's usually the case when it comes to these tornado signatures that we see. So that's starting to look impressive around Kewaunee, of course, now just north and east of town. Of course, we're taking a look at that storm out in Alexis if we can. Just a little rebut here. Before we go to the Alexis area, this tornado warning going into like 7:15 or so, and that's a rotation right here. That is heading toward Neponset. That is definitely heading toward Neponset, and likely maybe have as next target on Sheffield as well. So hopefully if you're watching us in Neponset and Sheffield, you're likely hearing the warnings, the tornado sirens going off, and you want to get to that safe place. I can't stress enough, get to that safe place. And make sure you have your phone ready to go. Make sure that you have some flashlights ready to go in case you lose any type of power. But more importantly, we want you to be safe. We want you to put as many walls between you and that storm outside. And then, of course, with our app, you can certainly keep an eye on what we're saying here in case you happen to lose power. So very much an important thing to keep in mind with that storm just outside of your towns.
Yeah, the Kewaunee Office of Emergency Management, which is located in Kewaunee, they said they noticed rapid rotation and they actually were seeking shelter. The last update we got from them a few minutes ago. So the Kewaunee storm means business. Meanwhile, we're watching that impressive looking wall cloud that is sitting right near Alexis itself. There is no tornado warning for Alexis or that exact area right now, but it is worth watching. But we do have, in addition to that, a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that does include areas northeast of the Metro Quad Cities. That's through Pleasant Valley, Cordova, just south of Eldridge, and that warning extends all the way up to Clinton, so all the way up to Highway 30. That's going to be for hail. We'll put the details on here really quickly, and then I believe we have some more hail video to take a look at from some of these storms. That's been the primary thing we've been warning for, in addition to some tornadoes. But there's the tracker. We'll throw that up to the north and to the east. There's your time of arrival. Clinton about 7:17. You've got Fullerton in there. You've got Comanche. You've got Cordova, Port Byron. Again, that's going to be for the hail threatened right now. Hail size algorithm still working on getting into that storm, but certainly it looks like the hail is absolutely there.
Yeah, very much so. And that's what we're going to be seeing more of a threat north of that boundary. Not so much as far as any type of major tornado outbreak, but we are going to likely notice that large hail is going to be the biggest threat there will be, especially north of the immediate Quad Cities. So, yeah, sure enough, that storm continues to make its way off toward the northeast. You can't rule out a good rush of wind to go with it as well. Andrew, what are we seeing here? Or John, if you're there, what do we got here?
This is video from Joy, Illinois. This is a video from Jeff. He took this at about 6:36, so just 15 minutes ago or so. And so you can see just some of the size of that hail. It's not as big as what we showed you earlier, but still sizable. Obviously, I hope he's undercover. I assume he probably is, because you can see the size of it there. I also want to mention, and James, you were talking about this, just the possibility of power outages. That's something that we monitor, and that's something that I've been looking at, and I really haven't seen anything to write home about. Thankfully, things have been very minor, but outages have been popping up in, well, this exact area that you were talking about right now. So no surprise there. It's one or two, here and there. But that could develop certainly as the night goes on.
Yeah, for the Joy area, the core of that storm that was producing the hail, I think just missed the town itself. So that's why we're noticing from that video, that was pea and maybe even penny-sized hail, penny-sized maybe mixed in as well. But you get a clear idea as far as where the strongest of these storms are taking place. And it's just not just the hail going on, but from the lightning as well, showing a tremendous area of lightning going on. And that's, of course, a signature, too, to some of the hail that may be going up and down from the storm, producing those vivid charges that we're noticing within the cloud itself. So outside of Woodhull, west as you go near Alexis, and like we said, that's where Morgan's track line is, in the Beast, that continues to make his way pretty much off to the northeast. So if you're watching us, especially around the southern half of Hendry County, be on guard. I know Kewanee, you got one storm that's pushing his way off from you, but that next storm is not too far behind. So Galva too, Bishop Hill, that storm that we're noticing getting ready to enter or now entering Hendry County, that is definitely going to be impacting you in the next maybe about 20 minutes or so. I believe, if you notice from our little phone that came up, our phone app, that we have a new severe thunderstorm warning, I believe. Right, Andrew?
Yes.
Is it this one right here?
I believe it is that one that just popped up there near Alexis. I'm going to check my my history here just to make sure.
Sure.
We're continuing, canceling. Yes. Let's go a little bit further to the north. Actually, it's this one right here.
Way up in Joe Davies County.
Way up there along Highway 20.
Oh, wow. And once again, I mean, that's one of the things we mentioned. I mean, even though the threat for tornadoes and hail is going to be along and east of that boundary, anywhere north of that boundary, the threat for hail and maybe even large hail, can't be ruled out, okay? So what, 1.5 inches in diameter, that's got to be...
I bet it's golf balls.
That's got to be golf ball size hail, yeah. And it doesn't show much here, but our algorithm is showing it could actually get that large. And you can see it just outside of Elizabeth. So that's what we're looking at. If you go north of the Quad Cities, the threat will be some hail, maybe some wind to go with it as well. You can't rule that out. But those are the two threats that we see north of the Quad Cities, south of the Quad Cities. All the weather hazards are in play here, okay? And that's including even some flooding rains that could be taking place as well. So Andrew went ahead and put the tracker on this. Not the golf club, not the golf course at Woodbine. No way, no way. But that's the case, given our track here. Stockton, it will be impacting you here in about maybe just over 10 minutes or so. So that storm continues to make its way off to the northeast at around maybe about 45 miles an hour. So I haven't been able to get an exact speed of these storms that we see here. But nonetheless, it's been kind of averaging around 40, 45 miles an hour or so.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the text product really quick, and then I know Peter's got another radar analysis of that storm in Alexis. Going on with the Alexis storm again, we saw that impressive wall cloud from Morgan earlier.
Yeah, that's what I thought would be great to break down, right? We're seeing that wall cloud, and what you're looking at here is velocity. Again, you got that red going away from the radar, green going towards the radar. But what we can do with this product is we can take a cross section of it and see how that velocity is kind of mixing down towards the surface. We can draw a little line here, set that up. You can see there's the base reflectivity along that kind of line making its way into southern portions of Henry County on the Illinois side of the river. But there you can kind of see that velocity trying to twist and turn in the upper levels of the atmosphere. You got that red further up high, but that's trying to mix with that green. Earlier, before it was much more defined when that wall cloud was there, that red and that green were mixing down towards the surface. So that's good news there. It's kind of getting a little bit of relief, but it puts into perspective how much kind of spin we're seeing in the atmosphere here. There's another thing we can look at. This is spectrum width. And what's interesting here is you notice these kind of brighter colors mixed in. That indicates objects in the atmosphere or strong changes in velocity in the atmosphere. And with that line kind of making its way towards Woodhull right now, or that little cluster, you can see kind of the changes in the atmosphere, especially near the surface where we're seeing that hail potential here as well, guys.
That's really impressive, Peter. And what's even more impressive, too, is if I'm reading that right, that particular storm is maybe right around, at least at one part, 60,000 feet?
Just above it.
Yeah.
At one point, just above that 60,000 foot mark, maybe nearing 65,000.
That's really kind of rare for this time of the year.
Oh, yeah. To see
that type of height.
It's impressive. These storms are climbing quickly. I mean, we talked about that all day, right? The rapid growth that we're going to see with these storms, the very unstable atmosphere. So it's kind of what we're looking at here right now.
Yeah, very good. Very impressive there, Peter. That's for sure. You have strong updrafts. I mean, we're looking at these updrafts maybe ranging between 60 and 70 miles an hour. So that allows that small little hailstone to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's a concern that we have with not just those storms around Joe Daviess County, but all the other storms that we've been noticing around the immediate Quad Cities and especially off to our south and east. We still have this tornado warning going on until 7:15. Buda, Neponset, Sheffield, once again in the path of this storm. The possible circulation looks like right around the Sheffield area, at least south, right there in 34 itself, Highway 34, and that continues to make its way pretty much off to the north and east. If we are able to put a tracker on this, which Andrew is putting in nicely, that's kind of what we're looking at. Actually, here's the circulation right here. So we're kind of looking just south and east of Sheffield. So if it continues that course, given the speed, about 30, 35 miles an hour, Princeton, looking at the clock, just about 15 minutes for you. That storm will be impacting Princeton in about 15 minutes. Dover, just a few minutes after that, and even around Zering as well. Wyandotte, let's not forget you guys, just minutes away from impacting you. That circulation is right here, and you can see the relationship is just a couple of miles away from you guys. So make sure you are taking cover when it comes to that part of the storm as it makes its way off toward the north and east. Just this atmosphere, Andrew, just percolating like crazy in areas just to our south and east, because it was like about an hour or so ago when we just started with one or two literally thunderstorms, and look what's happened in just less than an hour.
It's incredible. Yeah, I mean, temperatures down in Galesburg, Burlington, 80 degrees. Yeah.
And Burlington hit a record high of 82.
Yep, big temperature difference.
Wow, look at that.
Big temperature difference. And we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on that storm that's going into Bureau County. The folks at the Emergency Management Office in Kewaunee continue to field reports of rotation with that. The National Weather Service says heads up for those of you further into Bureau County. Do not be surprised to see this tornado warning extend further northeast. That would be you in Princeton and a good chunk of the rest of Bureau County. So we're going to keep a very close eye on that situation. John, I believe, has some more images coming in from other storms from across the region, including an impressive one.
Yeah, sometimes you get these photos and potentially questions on our end, just kind of what it is we're looking at. It looks like this just kind of a donut-shaped cloud there. And this is from, let me check where this is from. I'm so sorry. I navigated off the page. This is from Tina in Kewaunee. She took this picture about 6 minutes ago.
Interesting. It definitely, you know, like a shelf cloud, but it's got a hole punched in it.
It can also be, too, that from that chimney of the house and then eastward, that's one part of the storm or cloud that's growing, and then maybe just west of that chimney, part of another cloud that's growing, and it looks like the two tops of the clouds are kind of merging together as well as the bottom. That could be a possibility, but that's a pretty cool hole in there. I'm not sure. I mean, it would have been interesting to see in video how that all evolved, but that's something you don't see often.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something else. Let's see here. I'm just looking at also some of the other reports from the National Weather Service. Andy says he continues to watch at strong and potential tornado on the radar, getting over there around the Sheffield area. So that's something they're definitely keeping a watch on. Of course, there are just numerous rotating supercell thunderstorms that are going on here from Princeton right through or east of Kewaunee, down all the way to Woodhull, and even farther south and west as you go into southeastern Iowa. Of course, there's that tornado warning that we see in southwestern Bureau County. The second tornado warning
has been canceled.
Well, that's a really good sign. That's nice to see. But it looks like it has been replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning, where they still can't rule out a possible tornado there, given the polygon. You can see that. What was that color again, Andrew? Canary?
Canary yellow.
I just love the canary side of things when it comes to, well, that's just indicating with the help of our algorithms, you can see the upper right-hand corner that is saying a tornado development is possible with that particular storm. Likely producing some hail, does have a lot of lightning with it, right there hugging the Highway 34 corridor, and continues to pretty much make its way off to the north and the east. So around Wayland, we're going to possibly see some hail coming out from your neck of the woods with that core just off to your south and west. But velocity-wise, may be a challenge to see only because the radar beam is so far away from the town itself. But if we see any of that circulation, once again, it looks very broad. This looks a bit disorganized. Would you say, Andrew?
Yeah, very broad rotation.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised they let that warning go. But again, you're near the warm front. That could be something that could recycle maybe as it gets a little bit further past Mount Pleasant. So it could be something we may have to eventually watch for Mediapolis and Wapello.
Yeah.
Perhaps again here.
Would you say, too, Andrew, that because of that contrast in temperatures that we continue to see along this boundary and very little change in the dynamics, that, you know, this could go on for at least a few more hours with additional warnings that could take place?
Yeah, still thinking that timeline of, you know, beginning at 6, which we did right on schedule, right up until about 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is when we really expect things to start tapering off. We're losing the dynamics with this storm system. A lot of it starts to head off to the east. So we still have about a good 3-hour window yet to go here where we're going to be fielding in these rounds of severe weather. And right now our focus is south of Interstate 80 for the most intense thunderstorms. But as we've been showing you as well, there are new thunderstorms that are forming north of Interstate 80 near Iowa City. And there's one also southwest of Clinton that are eventually going to be grabbing our attention a little bit more once those southernmost storms begin to move on out. So a reminder, if you're south of Interstate 80, that's where you're near that boundary. It's a large hail and a tornado threat. If you're north of that boundary, well north of Interstate 80, say in Clinton, Savannah, north of the Quad Cities, even in the Quad Cities proper, I think we're well north of that front that we don't have to worry too much about tornadoes here. It is mainly a large hail threat. And we have seen that come true for many of these storms that have been north of that boundary. Take the one here in Clinton, for example, still has some fairly high hail probabilities just south of town, right along the border between, there you see Whiteside County, and then of course you've got Cordova there. So that'll be sneaking just south of Clinton, I suspect, eventually getting into extreme northwest Whiteside County. We'll see if they keep the warning on that. I've kind of been noticing a little downward trend in not just the hail potential, but even the lightning strikes are starting to wane a little bit. It's a little bit more of a challenging environment when you're that far north of the front versus being south.
Yeah, I think when we're dealing with in those situations, a lot more of the downdraft than updraft. But keep in mind, you know, you could get a good rush of wind as you get in this downdraft stage or decaying stage of these storms. But Andrew's right, not much lightning coming down here. Maybe some very beneficial rains that are taking place, and it continues to make its way off to the north and east. So just a few minutes from now, it will be impacting Clinton, Fulton as well, and if it continues on that same course, even the town of Union Grove will be impacted by that as well. I want to go back to Alexis, and that's where meteorologist Morgan Strackbine has been doing the chasing in the beast itself. So Morgan, why don't you give us the latest update? And is that I can't tell if that a street light or is that a little sun going on? It's hard to tell.
It is a street light because now it's starting to get dark enough out here, but that's especially because we just got a lot of cloud cover. But yeah, I just want to take you outside right now. Of course, this is kind of pointing, I mean, we are just outside of Alexis, so we are looking kind of mainly due west, but a lot of this has been obviously pushing off to the east. So now everything's kind of behind us now. So you see obviously lots of lightning, still those darker clouds. So we are kind of now just getting out of this cluster that we've been sitting here and kind of riding through. Of course, a lot of frequent lightning, not much kind of really coming to fruition here in downtown Alexis other than the frequent lightning and a little bit of rain. But yeah, so that cluster continues to keep pushing off. Obviously, we're also kind of interested in the other cluster of storms that's forming just on the Iowa side of the Mississippi River, just to our west, of course, Wapello going to Fairfield. I do believe now that once I kind of throw it back to you guys into more coverage, we're gonna start to head more towards the Woodhull area and probably sit there for a little bit, because obviously now we're fighting against the light of the sun now that the sun is starting to set at this hour.
Right, that's for sure. And of course, that's one of the things that, that's kind of our policy when it comes to storm chasing, that when it gets too dark, we finish the chase. But anything that could take place in the aftermath of these storms, especially any damage that may be going on, we'll certainly try to investigate that as well. But right now, as Morgan just mentioned, the worst of that storm around Alexis is now pretty much off to the east. I'm not sure, Morgan, if you can still hear me, but we were keeping an eye on that potential wall cloud that Andrew and I were noticing on the radar, and more importantly, too, what you guys saw at the beast as well. Has that now made its way east of you as well?
Yeah, that has pushed a lot more east. And yeah, it was a super impressive wall cloud. And I think at this point it has pushed kind of more towards the maybe even the Rio, Ontario area. And I'm looking at radar. Obviously, I've been looking at the velocity signatures. It was a very broad rotation here, but that wall cloud was something I was keeping a very close eye on. It was very, very interesting, definitely, to see with the human eye.
Yeah, especially the quality that we've been noticing from the camera, from the beast itself. Andrew and I were just in awe how that was the way it was developing as well. Okay, Morgan, just keep us updated. I believe you were talking about maybe heading to Woodhull. Keep us updated and get back to us once you get to your position. We want to go ahead, and I understand that the sirens are going off in, I believe, Woodhull.
Yes.
I believe. And you want to give us details on that there?
Yeah, so we're seeing an update that they have gone ahead and sounded these severe storm sirens there in Woodhull. It appears they are seeing some prominent rotation, and that's not surprising if you look at the radar presentation here, where you've got, kind of this area just south of town, the warm, moist air feeding into the storm, kind of wrapping itself in here. So this is an area definitely we're going to have to watch. Now, if you look at the velocity presentation on this, you could see, a little bit of broad rotation there. There also might be a little bit here northwest of town of Woodhull.
Oh, yeah,
you
sure.
can see maybe a little couplet trying to form there.
Yep.
Where we have some winds pretty close to each other, kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, I like when you put the different color table on. That really shows that distinction right there.
Yeah, and you can see how that's kind of evolved here. It's gotten a little bit stronger, especially with winds that are going away from the radar and also going towards. So that would be, I believe that report said we were near 17. Illinois 17 is where that rotation was seen, and that's right about that spot there. You've got 74, so that's going to be crossing Interstate 74 here shortly. That is not warned for a tornado, but I know that the National Weather Service is aware of it. They have received that spotter report that they're keeping an eye on that too. Also, we saw an update regarding the storm that is in Bureau County, where the rotation is starting to broaden or widen a little bit. That's good news because it means that rotation is becoming a little less organized. The storm is also moving a little farther away from the front as well, which makes it a little less likely to produce something tornadic. But still, you can see there's some broad rotation in that area just southwest of Princeton. No word on any new tornado warning coming for that. It sounds like they're just going to let the current one kind of ride its way out. In fact, if you look at the latest radar, it is now out of the warning polygon for the tornado. So if you're looking for rotation, if we're looking at the presentation on the reflectivity, Tiskalawa, right there, is where it looks like it would be, right in that region.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a wall cloud being noticed just outside of town, just south and west of Tiskalawa itself. So that's the concern that we have with that cell in particular. And then north of Tuscarawas, where you see the heavy rain, but likely even noticing maybe even some hail going on with that particular storm. So that's a storm that continues to make its way off to the north and east. Pretty much all of Bureau County is under that severe thunderstorm warning that goes on until...
Let's pop it up, shall we? And see
I was going to say 7:30. No, let's see what we got here. Oh, 7:15. Darn it. But that's a little concerning because I noticed that it said that destructive damage it could be likely. And you can see right there, Andrew.
Yeah, and look at the hail size.
That is
2 3/4.
That is impressive. That's baseball size, isn't it?
That is huge.
Yeah.
And again,
wow, that's baseball size.
It's so big. The area of severe hail is so big.
Yeah.
On the usually it's these tiny little cores. This thing is huge. It expands, all the way south of Interstate 80, almost to the bottom half of the county. That's impressive.
Yeah, and we've been seeing this multiple times with these storms that have been going on. It's kind of like a first that we're seeing with these storms, where the coverage is so wide with these impressive hail sizes, and coming from more than just one storm as it makes its way off to the north and east. So yeah, Tuscarawas, wow, you're going to likely see some pretty good hail, and unfortunately you may be talking about some damage there as well with that large hail that may be taking place.
Let's put the tracker on it because it does look like, yeah, eventually it's going to get into Princeton. And based on the loop, this may be the second round of hail that you're going to be seeing with that storm. So there's the tracker for you. Princeton at 7:15, Seatonville 7:29, Lamoille at 7:36. Let's go to John Diaz.
Yeah, one thing we've been keeping an eye on, guys, is the power outages. So I don't know if we can pull up my computer here, guys.
Let's make sure we got his microphone on too. There we go.
Yeah, I think we're on here. If you guys can pull up, my computer, just to kind of show you some power outages. Again, there's been nothing really severe in terms of the number of outages, but this one just kind of popped up, and it's in the Illinois Quad Cities here. It's kind of centered just west of Cambridge, and you can see that's really at the heart, if we can pull it up, hopefully, kind of at the heart of where a lot of the activity is happening. There it is. And so this is about 24 customers. Obviously, we've seen much larger numbers in other situations, but we do see sometimes in these situations, these numbers start off small and they begin to grow. So just a good reminder for everyone out there to have multiple ways to access the information that our meteorologists are talking about right now.
Yeah, that's a good sign right there, John, that the power outages, if they do happen, they're very brief. So that is very good news indeed. But we're kind of, in the early stages of the complex of thunderstorms that have been erupting in areas to our south and east. But more importantly, some of the hail-producing thunderstorms that have been going on, especially just north and west of the Quad Cities. I mean, our weather impact alert, this is going to go on likely to about maybe 11 o'clock or so. Given the development of these storms, now that we're starting to lose the sunlight itself, we're now getting in that stage where now we're going to use as much of that heating of the day to allow some of the dynamics to be mixed in and produce some of these hail-producing storms, though more isolated the farther north of the Quad Cities as you go. This is indicating that there's a new warning out. In this case, it's showing a new severe thunderstorm warning. So, Andrew, is that taking place more east of Bureau County? Is it this one right here, or?
It is both of those, actually.
Both of those, okay.
Because we're not renewing the tornado warning, but instead we're replacing that with a severe thunderstorm warning. And I also just noticed 2-inch hail report just popped up out of Princeton.
Wow.
Not that long ago. 2-inch hail. That would have
cow.
been at 6:58, it looks like. A 2-inch diameter hail report. So this may be the second round of hail that's coming in for Princeton. So Princeton really in the thick of things right now. If you look at the hail probability, it's right over top of town. And then as you go to the northeast, you see Cherry, some hail potential. There's your hail size, it's golf ball. So Princeton.
Wow.
Getting quite the storm right now. Peter, you have something for us?
Yeah, we can pull this up on velocity as well, but there's this program we have. It kind of can indicate some areas of rotation. I'm looking near Oneida right now, and if we can pull this up in the background, and if not, that's totally okay. But near the surface, it was kind of detecting some spin there, and you can see near the surface here, this is right near Oneida right now.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that red versus the green, that indication of that rotation. And then also I have another product here I can show you, and this is your rotation tracker. And look at that blue. That indicates that potential here for rotation, and it's reaching down near towards the surface. That bottom line is 10,000 feet, and it's getting closer and closer there to the surface. That might be something we want to check out here on velocity. Again, we can't confirm that, but this is something to watch out for, guys.
If that is the case, that could be more of the Mesocyclone.
Yep.
That could be taking place. And, you know, on the very bottom of that, usually you would visually see some type of a wall cloud that may be going on. So that could very likely what we're seeing on the 3D structure here of that particular storm. So yeah, good eyes on that too, Peter. When it comes to that, I understand in southern Henry County, Andrew, that there could be baseball-sized hail going on in that particular area.
Yeah, that confirmed report in Princeton is telling us a lot about what's going on with that storm. There it is, just south of town. We're right on top of Tuscaloosa, where you've got that report possibly of baseball size. In fact, our radar algorithm is still indicating some very, very high-end hail potential of 2 and now 1/4 inch in diameter, which would be getting close to tennis ball size. So, yep, that's going almost due east, and that's something you're going to have to keep an eye on. Almost going to get to 180 there, it looks like, shortly. And I think, John, you've got something too?
I just want to see if we can pull up this picture that I have on my computer here, because you're talking about hail in Princeton. This is photographs of hail from Princeton from just before the top of the hour here. Oh, that's not it, but that's okay. That's a video we showed you earlier from Little York, from Deanna. But I wanted to show you this, these pictures that Rodney sent in from Princeton, if we can get it up. If not, it's okay. Hey, there it is.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Anyway, that's the hail that you guys have just been talking about in Princeton, happening just moments ago.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we're still getting numerous reports of different size hail. I just got one out of Iowa City. They've been reporting some nickel to quarter size hail around Iowa City itself, where there's a severe thunderstorm warning out for that particular area. But mainly north of the Quad Cities, that's where we've been seeing these hail-producing thunderstorms that have been going on. Multiple warnings that we see going on north and west of the Quad Cities, and that one lonely warning in parts of now Joe Davies extending its way into Stevenson County, watching for the possibility of maybe even some rotation coming out of that just outside of town in Stockton. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that, making its way, like we said, over in Stevenson County. These storms are moving around 30, 35 miles an hour, so we could get some pretty decent rain out of this, maybe ranging from 1/10 to even 1/4 of an inch of rain. Where we're seeing the training of these storms south and east of the Quad Cities, likely it could be a little bit more. But when you are dealing with the radar kind of filled with hail here and there, it kind of takes away some of those amounts that we could potentially see around the area. But we're going to check out and see the intensity levels come up here. And that does look fairly impressive there, Andrew.
Yeah, that is some very, very heavy rainfall. And some of this could be contaminated with hail as well. And that is certainly the case with this storm that is west of Bishop Hill. This thing has just grown very quickly here in the last few minutes. So not only very heavy rainfall, but I want to go back to the hail tracker, because we are seeing another escalation in hail size, and this would be headed right down into Galva here shortly. Another big area of some very large hail. That's right along Illinois 17, right down north of Altona, but eventually heading right along 34 here as it gets into Galva. So heads up, Galva. Right now, radar actually indicating, again, 2.5 inch diameter hail.
That's baseball size.
And the earlier scan was 2 3/4. Not to mention the radar's tornado algorithm is pointing to rotation that's intensifying northeast of Altona right now.
Wow. Okay, right there in Rover country itself. And let's see if we can actually get to northern Knox County. Let's go to the radar itself, because I know we have a new severe thunderstorm warning, I believe, that's been popping up right behind you, Andrew. And then we're going to go to Morgan, because she's got a great view where she is, and we'll find out from her in just a second. But yeah, we're looking at areas right north of Oneida, and going uptown, that's where I believe Altona is located. Yep, those are Altona right there. So this is what we're concerned about with that part of the storm right there, Andrew.
Yep, just kind of watching the rotation itself. It's kind of embedded in here. It's a little messy. Again,
right.
We have the wind turbine situation that kind of makes this a little messy to look at. But you'd be looking at, it looks like perhaps either northwest of town, right there, where 34 meets up with 17, or you could also be looking, too, a little bit further to the east. But nonetheless, I could see the case that there's a little bit of some rotation going on with that storm there.
Sure. Let's do this. Let's go to Morgan. I understand in my ear that she has a great view where she is. And Morgan, if you hear me, I know that did you leave Alexis? Where are you guys heading toward? Wow, look at all that lightning going on there.
It's impressive.
That is very impressive. A lot of, looks like cloud to ground strikes, which again is indicating the hail production is very efficient right now. The more cloud to ground strikes you see, the bigger the hail is growing inside that storm cloud.
She's very likely on the backside of this storm. Smart idea, just being on the trail end of this as he continues to make his way toward the east. But
Hey guys, can you hear me?
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Morgan. What do you see from your end?
Yeah, you guys are exactly right. We are just on the backside of this. So yeah, you can see very prolific. This has been, we're literally right behind the storm. So looking at my map, I am just near North Henderson. We are going to be heading towards Woodhall. So we are traveling right now due east, eventually going to be kind of just basically following the storm and then eventually heading north towards Woodhall.
And from our angle here, this lightning is really impressive. I think you're probably seeing even a better view of that when it comes to the quality here.
Oh, it's absolutely, I mean, it's gorgeous. You can't. Also, fun fact, I just ran into Evan Bunkers. He just came up past us. He's actually on his way out back to Des Moines.
Now, you're not familiar, Evan Bunkers, of course, was one of our chasers as well, and of course helped us here in the weather department as far as doing some weekend weather. And it's always nice to hear from Evan, one of the most passionate guys when it comes to weather itself. I mean, he's one of us classic weather nerds, and one of the things he truly enjoys to do on his time off is do some chasing. And it was nice for him to kind of make his way back here and around the Media Quad Cities itself and take part in the chase, and more importantly, getting a chance to talk to you, Morgan.
Yeah, it was awesome to see him. But yeah, he's heading back to Des Moines. He just stopped by and he said, "Wake me up when something exciting happens." Which, I mean, it's still been exciting. I will say we've been seeing lots of rain, hail. It's been gusty out here, but I feel like for the Beast, for the most part, we've been in a really good spot most of this evening. At least just staying outside of the center cores of a lot of these storms and being able to catch them as they go by. Which is honestly, when I'm chasing, that is one of the best setups that I can try to put us in, because it keeps us out at least of danger or potentially getting into, you know, a hail core, which I don't want to do that with this truck. So yeah, we're just kind of, again, we are just now entering into, looking at my map, Rio. We are just south of Rio now. So like I said, we are quite literally just following the storm as it continues to push off to the east.
If you happen to see any type of hail damage, certainly, please let us know on that. So keep us up to breast, Morgan. Thank you. She continues on that course toward the east. And once again, Evan has been on many travels with Morgan, with her being in the back and Evan doing the driving. And you may remember 2 years ago, it was the first time that not only did Morgan see a tornado, but she saw 2 tornadoes from the beast itself, courtesy of Evans Driving. He's just a very good expert when it comes to searching for these tornadoes and, more importantly, positioning himself to actually see that tornado in compared to what we could potentially see on the radar, which sometimes doesn't come off very clearly. But you can see all the reports of the hail that is popping up just where, like we said, we mentioned with Morgan, just right there west of Bishop Hill itself, with that cell outside of Princeton, and a few more scattered about to our north, just north and east around Mount Pleasant there in Henry County, Iowa. That's really an impressive cell with a lot of large hail just around the Winfield area there. Hen egg. I wasn't sure it was going to pop up on the radar there, Andrew.
There's another one for you.
Billiard ball size.
Holy cow.
That's unbelievable. That is going on just outside of Winfield. And that what continues to make its way off to the north and east?
I think that's the largest one we have seen on radar this evening so far. Billiard ball size hail.
I think that's a first.
Yeah,
that's exclusive.
I don't think I've ever seen a color get into that category on our hail tracker before.
Goodness.
So yeah, hail is a huge threat with that. Like you said, Winfield, that is just north of 78. So I think for the most part, that's going to avoid morning sun, but heads up Wapello. Depending on the cycle, the life cycle of this thing, we could be talking about that heading right for Wapello very quickly. Here's the tracker for you. Put it on there, and that's got about a 7:42 arrival time. Now, within 20 minutes, this is probably going to cycle some, but definitely the hail, that's impressive for Winfield.
Yeah, I think Andy over the National Weather Service has said he's going to throw out a warning here in just a little bit for southern Louisa County for the potential for baseball size. I think we need to write them and let them know we're reporting billiard size.
Yeah, we've got pool balls.
I'd love to hear. I'd like to hear his reaction on that one. Here's a response. But yeah, that's a storm that we're looking as it makes its way off to the north and east. And I guess there's the new warning out for southern Louisa.
Yep, there's the new warning, it looks like. And we will go ahead and put the deets on that for you. Let's peel away a couple of layers here, and there it is until 8:15. 2 3/4 inch hail.
Wow.
Destructive damage likely.
And what do you notice there too, just south of 115th Street there, just east of Winfield, it looks like a little couplet there too.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of broad rotation there in velocity. This is another one of those cases where we're getting far away from the radar. It's kind of getting a little bit cluttered, if you will. But yeah, the radar presentation definitely looks like it's got at least some broad rotation coming up there right ahead of it near morning sun, kind of feeding in that warm, moist, unstable air.
Yeah, I mean, in these cases, it seems like, when we're so far away from the radar, we can't help but go to the reflectivity mode to actually kind of get that appearance. But that's something certainly we're keeping an eye on. Of course, if you're watching us in morning sun, that's something that you guys definitely need to keep an eye on. So hopefully you're hearing the sirens going off. That is really impressive.
Wow.
What we're seeing on the hail probability, Peter.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's super strong kind of updraft we're seeing here with the system. And I actually got the velocity, the 3D scan here. There's that hail core.
Wow.
You can see the updraft that we're getting within this system. You see that? So that's a very strong hail core. You can kind of see the difference in the spin and direction of the winds in the atmosphere as that hail is continuing to build. And that's skying up. We can zoom out here and show you how high kind of we're getting that updraft. That updraft is reaching nearly 40,000 feet. This is my finger right here at 40,000 feet. You can see that core there. And another way to kind of look at this, so you can look at the vertically integrated liquid. I know, sounds like a lot, and it's going to look confusing. But look at these greens. That's showing, same area where we're seeing that core, right? That's a ton of liquid in the atmosphere. And when these cores, these pieces of hail are rising, little particles of water attach to them. So if they keep on getting drafted up and up and up with all that moisture there in the atmosphere, that's just going to continue to allow them to grow, guys.
That's right. I mean, we're probably talking about, given the size that we've been mentioning, when we're talking about golf ball size, we're talking about maybe these updrafts as strong as at least 60 miles an hour. If you're talking baseball size or
Yeah.
billiard size, I guess in this case, you're talking about an updraft, okay, maybe as strong as 75 or even 80 miles an hour, okay? That's air that's throwing its way upward and helping to blossom these clouds, these thunderstorm clouds at a very, very high rate. And if you allow to keep that going, then you are going to keep that hailstone in the cloud and allow it to grow even more so. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. The maximum size hail that we're looking at on average, I would say, right, Peter, is about 2 inches right now.
Yeah, 2 inches of hail is typically what we're looking at here with this. And we can kind of pull that up and we can show you kind of over here what the kind of maximum sized hail is. And you can see kind of the growth that we're going to be looking at. I mean, look at that green, 2 inches there. And that's kind of, I feel like, an underestimation almost, right? If we're talking billiard, we're talking over 2 inches here with this, guys.
Yeah, that's really impressive that we're seeing here. Yeah, and so this is one of many hail reports that we're getting from some of these thunderstorms, especially south and east of the Quad Cities, a bit more isolated off to our north and west. Now, I believe right now, guys, I don't think we have any tornado warnings that are out. These are basically severe thunderstorm warnings that we're noticing across a lot of our hometowns. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think we got 1 million
So many.
Feels like
thunderstorm
it, right?
warnings that are taking place across the area. But I think it's important here, and Andrew, I'll go to you on this, is like we see some of these polygons that are clear, others that have these dashed lines that are going on. Let's explain, everyone, what the difference is with each of these.
Sure. So the ones that have these moving dashed lines, for example, down here in Woodhull, Kewanee, and getting into parts of northern Knox and into Stark County, that indicates where you're going to see damaging thunderstorms, whether it be very large hail, strong winds, or a combination of both. Where you don't see those moving lines, for example, here near Aledo, we're talking about probably quarter-size hail, and you can see that warning just disappeared. But the ones that have these moving lines, those are the ones that require more attention, because that's where we have that larger hail threat. In fact, I bet if we go zoom in here, we'll put the warning information on the screen for you. You'll see it pop up. You can see the threat there says considerable. In terms of the damage, because we're approaching 1 3/4 inches for hail. Meanwhile, if I take you to one where we're not seeing nearly as large a hail, only quarter size, notice there's no moving lines within that box. So the moving lines indicating that's where we could see the damage, some damaging thunderstorms. And thankfully, the non-moving, non-highlighted boxes are being outnumbered by the non-highlighted and non-moving boxes, which tells us that a lot of that, the worst of the intensity of the storms is still south of Interstate 80 versus what we're seeing north.
Let's go ahead and put that reflectivity back on again. You know, we've been getting a possible report from a couple of viewers around the Toulon area. That's in Stark County. And they think that they might be seeing a tornado out there. Nothing has been confirmed by the National Weather Service. So we're going to make our way into Stark County. We got Bradford, you got Toulon, and let's see here. This to the south and west of that. There's Stark.
There it is. That's where I was trying to go.
And that could be challenging. I mean, I don't think people realize it could be very challenging as far as location is concerned. But what do you think there, Andrew? Right around Toulon, there looks to be some type of broad rotation trying to take place. Of course, being very challenging, being so far away from the center of the radar beam itself.
Yeah, you've got some. The rotation algorithm is picking up some weak rotation, actually right on top of Toulon essentially right now. And if we put the loop on that, you can see it's actually been organizing a little bit more as it's heading due to the east. You look at the velocity data showing the winds of the storm. Yep, you've got that classic red next to the green just north of town. Definitely signaling that, yeah, we could be looking at something trying to develop there. It's a very attention-grabbing, what we call a hook on the storm on the radar presentation. You know, in terms of where it's at right now, we're in Stark County, of course, so we're likely a little closer to that boundary. That boundary could have a little bit of an influence, and this is something we could see escalate shortly.
Right, yeah, because it looks pretty good on the reflectivity mode there. And as we check our way into velocity mode, it kind of sinks into both phases right there. Peter, what do you have for us over there?
Yeah, I just kind of to put into perspective how radar can get a little bit messy at these distances, right? We're kind of reaching the max distance from this radar. We're at the lowest tilt that I'm going to be showing you here of our radar, but look how high into the atmosphere the radar beams are going. Okay, you're looking at 20,000 feet at that lowest line. So it kind of puts into perspective, while we get further away from the radar, there's those signatures, and we're not saying there isn't maybe that potential there, but this is kind of where it can get messy. This is when we talk about, well, it gets further away from the radar, the data can get a little bit messed up. It's because the radar beam itself starts to climb 10, 15, 20,000 feet into the atmosphere, and that's what makes that kind of picture a little bit more muddy, you could almost say, guys.
Yeah, very good point there. Very good point indeed, Peter, when it comes to that. It makes it a challenge, no question about it, for us meteorologists, broadcast meteorologists, to have clarity when you're so far away from the radar beam itself. Keep in mind, from the Mount Joy Airport all the way out to places like around Stark County, that angle of the beam gets higher and higher, so we don't see much of a detail on that. But there are cases where, reflectivity, when we're in the reflectivity mode, it gets to be better and better.
There it goes.
And that's why, we go to that. And sure enough, yeah, brand new tornado warning that now has just popped up.
There it is. Let's peel away all the layers so you can see who's included in that. It is a good chunk of Stark County, reaching all the way up to Bradford there along Illinois Route 40. Let's pull up the banner to get the details on here to say, is this radar confirmed or is it spotter confirmed? Right now it's radar detected, is what the National Weather Service is calling. But notice the hail size on that, too.
2 inches.
2 inches.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that is really impressive.
So that'll go till, looks like the top of the hour, 8 o'clock.
Okay, and so we got about just less than a half an hour on this warning. Could be a sign too that the storm, this particular part of the storm, is moving pretty quickly as well, given the less than half an hour. But Andrew, I mean, hands off to you on that part of the rotation mode that you showed before the warning came up, because that clearly showed something that was taking place. Now, people will say, well, that doesn't look really impressive, but even getting some type of signature out of this, so far away from the beam itself, no wonder it's weak. It's showing the green. But if we have that radar beam a little bit lower on the angle, it would be more impressive that we see. So no question. But just going to the reflectivity mode here, there is something going on there. We're still able to get that flow within that circulation. And sure enough, there's definitely something going on there. And, I'm not going to jump the gun here, but, if that is certainly part of where a tornado is, could that be some type of debris?
That immediately got my attention as well.
I believe we can go to that correlation coefficient.
Yes, let's see if we can pull that up.
This is going to be really hard. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but, there could be something there just north and east of town.
Yeah, what you're looking for the yellows, the greens, and the blues that stand amongst the middle of all this red. That would indicate something that is not rain. It's not a natural object like rain or hail.
Right.
In this case, it would be dust, it would be debris, a number of other things here. So that is a sign that there may be something there. James, I think you're onto something there. If you look at the debris tracker, I would also love to see if Peter can get in there with GR and see if he notices anything, especially if he can get correlation coefficient going in the 3D space to see if we're seeing anything lofted into the air, because that's what we call suspicious. Yeah. Very suspicious looking scan there.
Is that, are you back to reflectivity mode, or what was that, with that velocity mode I think you had on there, Andrew, there? Let's just keep it right there. That really sticks out. That is really impressive.
Yeah, there's a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a little blue in there now too.
Yeah. So where you're looking here is this right here. So just south of Illinois 93. And again, this is heading almost due east. So no northeastward movement on this, due east. That tells you, again, this is close to the front. That's why we're seeing this develop, because we're close to the front. If it was moving northeast, it'd be away from the front, but we're actually latched onto the front now when we're following it. And there very well could be something cooking right there, now north of Wyoming.
Yeah, fortunately, and it looks like it just shifted again here, and you're right, it is moving pretty much from west to east. If you're watching us in Bradford, I think you're going to miss out on that part of the storm. Given what we're noticing here on the velocity mode itself, though, just west of you guys, you see a little bend that could be even a good downdraft of wind that may be taking place. Right where Andrew is showing right there, okay? So even though you may not be in that circulation, which is more to your south and west, which looks like about maybe a mile or two, I would say, right near Wyoming itself,
Yep.
that should be away from you. But that part of that storm may have a good rush of wind with it, and maybe even a little hail to go with it as well, which wouldn't be, you can see there is some type of bending there, Andrew.
Yeah, that would indicate a damaging wind threat right along Illinois 93 getting into Bradford. While that rotation will likely pass to your south, it does look like you've got some very strong winds coming in, and even the reflectivity is kind of showing this as this storm is beginning to kind of recycle itself. We saw this rotation earlier south of Galva. That's when we were mentioning that the radar algorithm had reported a developing tornado there. Now this is that same storm translating eastward along the boundary and recycling itself again, except now it's in Stark County heading south of Bradford. So there's the potential that we could see not only the damaging wind threat to the north of the rotation, but also this rotation maybe tightening up a little bit more as it gets closer to Illinois 40 south of Bradford.
Yeah. That's sure. So that we'll have to keep definitely a watch on that. That is the only tornado warning, by the way, that we have right now across the area. But we have still numerous severe thunderstorm warnings that are taking place just north of that. And then you have more of a scattered array of warnings you can see to our north and west, even in areas just south and west of the Quad Cities itself, where you can see that one kind of, we like to call that canary color polygon, where there is that potential for maybe even some rotation there. But we're really concerned about that hail. About 20 minutes ago or so, we were seeing maybe baseball size hail out of that. It's kind of lost a little bit of its punch, as now it's coming across as more of quarter size hail, which, Andrew, of course, that still can cause a little damage.
Oh yeah, you get some dings in the vehicle, some siding damage. Is certainly, your riffs don't appreciate that either.
That's right. Yes.
And yeah, that just continues to be kind of the story that we're seeing with that storm near Wapello. That's the one that really had that large hail, like you said earlier, the billiard ball size hail, and it still looks like you're still dealing with hail here, even with that storm that has the possible rotation with it now, where you're getting that larger hail just south of Illinois 93. That would be moving due east. And typically where you want to look for the tornado development is you want to look just south of that hail core, which would be just due east of Toulon now. North of Illinois 17. So it looks like that's going to be heading right between Bradford. Illinois 17 should be crossing Illinois 40 in not too much time. If you want to throw the tracker on that, I know it's going to eventually go out of the coverage area, but there you can see some of the towns that are impacted. I know Bradford's on there, but again, we're talking about this likely sliding just to your south.
That's right. So even though you won't get, once again, if you're not going to expect to get the circulation and that possible tornado on the ground, but yeah, no question, you're going to be seeing some type of hail impacting you within the next couple of minutes or so, because it is just outside of town, just west of town. So you're likely going to get this downbursts of rain, maybe some wind, and then quickly followed by some of that hail that is coming in right behind it. But the circulation that we're noticing is pretty much in connection with Illinois 40 and 17, just north of the valley there in Stark County, as that gets ready to make its way eastward. But yeah, we're seeing some type of rotation. And I want to stress here again, folks, that we're so far away from the radar beam out of Mount Joy that even though this circulation that we're noticing is in the green, which may be indicating weak rotation, likely, because the angle of the beam is so high at this location, if it was a lot lower in that angle, it would be even more, obvious that there is some type of rotation going on between Bradford and even around Valley.
Yeah, very impressive. display there. Yeah, damaging wind threats there, the hail threats there, now the tornado threat that we need to be concerned about. There's the look at the warning again, and that will go to the top of the hour. It's the only tornado warning that we have in place right now. I know Peter right now is using some of our other products to utilize to see if he can find potentially maybe some debris maybe, or some dust or dirt that may have been lofted into the air.
Yeah.
Peter, are you seeing anything from
We were
that
finally
region?
able to get it up. What you're looking at here, this is kind of just outside of Tulum. And I know it's kind of hard to kind of get it out here, right? Because it's so far away from the radar, it took a while to find it. But you do see some of those hints here, kind of once we get closer to the surface of that green, those brighter colors that are starting to come up again. When you look at correlation coefficients, sometimes you can get hail mixed in there. But there has been kind of a consistent signature once I'm able to get it picked up here a little bit, guys, of maybe some of that debris kind of closer to the surface. We were seeing those greens, those pinks, those yellows here as well.
And even
right
those
outside of-
blues, yeah, when you
Yep.
see that combination of blue, that's a sure sign as well, Peter.
And this is right along 40, like you guys were talking about right now. So pretty
Yeah.
close by there.
You know, I tell you, we've been doing this for years, Andrew and I have, and it's nice, Peter, that we can kind of go into this type of fashion in showing more of a 3D of a look,
Yeah.
because we can find out about the height of these clouds, okay? Certainly the higher, the more impressive supercell storms that are definitely happening in that particular location. We can find the Mesocyclone, where we very likely on the base of that can determine a possible wall cloud that we wouldn't be able to see here on the reflectivity mode itself. And also, too, we can find out the hail core itself. Once again, a nice tool to have when you're dealing with a more of a 3D look of this. So that's kind of what we want to always like to examine. We can possibly see the hail core within the very top of the cloud, but not so much on the bottom sometimes. So going to reflectivity, then boom, it kind of verifies that as well. And in this case, as we've been seeing in multiple storms so far this evening, is, the size of golf balls. A couple of times we've been seeing size of baseballs that are going on with these storms. And of course, you, the viewer, have been able to send us photos, videos of some of the hail that has been going on in your neck of the woods. Most of it we've been seeing has been pea-size hail, penny size. But, we have been getting reports, and with our friends at the National Weather Service helping out in the matter, some of these storms producing the golf ball and even baseball-size hail. Fortunately, these reports, at least that we've heard so far in the department here, have been outside of these towns, more in the fields itself, okay? So that has been some good news in those cases. But you can see some of this large hail that continues to go on, as we mentioned, just off to our east. Here is Loiza County. There's a severe thunderstorm warning going on with this particular cell. Golf ball size hail between Morning Sun and Oakville. Looks like just off of 61. That continues to make his way off to the east. And with that loop, you can see how we went from a possible billiard-sized hail around Whitfield. Now we're at a point where that hail shaft that core is kind of losing a little bit of his punch. But there's around Winfield when we have that blue color. We've never seen that blue color when it comes to determining the hail size out of this. So that's where likely we've been seeing at least baseball size. Now we're seeing more of the downdraft starting to take over with this storm than so much of the updraft, and why we're seeing that color begin to shrink even more so with every frame that we advance when it comes to that storm. Still a very impressive storm that we're dealing with here, with plenty of lightning going on and even some pretty good rain that is taking place as well. And there's that severe thunderstorm warning. It's now on the east side of this warning that we're noticing with that particular cell as it continues to make its way off to the east. We got another half an hour or so when it comes to this warning. But what you say, Andrew, is because it's still holding itself together, that we're going to very likely extend that warning going into Mercer County.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We're not seeing a decrease in the lightning count. It is still maintaining itself. Not to mention, this is another storm that is very close to the boundary that is sitting south of Interstate 80. You can see on the tag here on the top of the banner, tornado development possible with that particular storm because it is close to the boundary. I'm actually noticing, not so much on the forward storm, but the one behind it, as you go to Morning Sun and just to the south, you've got a little bit of some weak rotation there, but otherwise this is mainly a hail threat, but we do have to keep an eye on it as it heads for areas near Keithsburg, eventually into Aledo and Seton, and I think by my count this is about the second time Aledo has been impacted by a storm with this system. So you're getting multiple rounds of storms. Hopefully this will be the last one for you as we begin to concentrate again on areas north of the Quad Cities with that. But that warning goes until 8:15. Inch and a quarter diameter hail will be possible with that. We'll put a tracker on it really quick just so you can see the time of arrival extending beyond where we have the severe thunderstorm warning, because again we expect this to be extended here shortly, probably at any moment, because we're just about on the edge of the polygon. So this is heading more east. And there you see a new warning popped up. We'll see what that's for, but there's your times of arrival. Aledo at about 8:10, Viola at 8:23. This new warning actually extended now east. So this is getting a little bit further outside of the coverage area, but it's now covering southern Bureau County and southeastern Bureau County, including just outside of LaSalle, Peru. The good news is we're just about getting all that rotation out of Stark County. So south of Bradford, it looks like you're going to be in the clear here, and then that's going to be heading more into the Peoria television market, getting north of Chillicothe.
Yeah, I noticed, and did you just cover this, Andrews, in southeastern Bureau County, new severe thunderstorm warning? And that is until 8:30, moving pretty quickly, 50 miles an hour. But they're worried about the fact that we could be talking about some half-dollar size hail and maybe some wind gusts around 60 miles an hour or so. That's a new one for southeastern Bureau County, and that county just south of that, that's actually Putnam County. Putnam County. So new severe thunderstorm warning out until 8:30 for those areas. When it comes to that particular part of the storm. And once again, I think it's because of that hail structure that we've been noticing, kind of showing some signs of weakening, but certainly concerned about the hail that continues to go on, which is still over an inch.
Yeah, we continue to see the hail pattern cycling where it ramps up, it gets really big for about 5-10 minutes, and then it ramps right back down, decreasing in size. That's what we're seeing now is it's ramping back down, but it may ramp back up again here too as it approaches parts of Putnam County there in southeast Bureau County. Believe we have some new hail pictures or video to take advantage of and see if we can see it, and there it is. Where is this from?
This is from Princeton. This is some of the larger hail that we've seen. Sorry about that, guys. This is from Princeton. Some of the larger hail that we've seen, at least sent into us. We've been looking. Sorry for that window that popped up there, but I think this was from Randall, who sent this in, or Rodney. Rodney in Princeton sent this in about 30 minutes ago. And just a quick update, by the way, guys. I know we haven't had to focus too much on power outages because they have been relatively minor throughout the evening, but we continue to see those 26 or so Mid-American customers who are out of power. But for Ameren customers, that number has really exploded in the past, I would say, just 10 minutes. I checked it 10 minutes ago. There was about 100 customers out without power. That number is now up to 774. Now, keep in mind, some of these are just a little bit outside of our area. But some of the ones that we're seeing are in Cambridge, Woodhull, all the places that we've been talking about these storms having moved through, Aledo, Joy, and then as far down as Macomb even. So we're seeing the effects of this certainly, and this could obviously develop as the night continues.
James, as expected, that new severe thunderstorm warning, a new one has been issued downstream of New Boston now, accounting for that storm still being quite strong. We'll zoom into it here, put the details up on the banner on the screen so you can see the expiration time. 8:45 on that. So Aledo, New Boston, Viola, quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Notice this one is not tagged tornado possible. So it looks like the rotation within that storm has weakened from the warning we saw before it. But yeah, you called it on that one, that eastward extension right through Aledo into Viola.
And let's show the hail that may be coming from that particular storm. And that still looks fairly impressive that we're seeing there, with the hail size at least quarter size, located just off of 99 right there off of Oakville. And that continues to make his way off toward the east, kind of losing a little bit of its structure, a little bit, but still holding its own. And of course, the concern of any damage and why we kind of extended that warning into parts of southern Mercer County for at least a good half an hour to 45 minutes or so. Because keep in mind, there's a lot of lightning going on with this storm. You might even be getting a good rush of wind coming down from the storm. That's why that this storm in particular may have winds around 60 miles an hour. We'll just have to keep an eye on some potential rotation that may be being noticed here on the velocity mode right there on the Louisa County, Des Moines County border right there, just off of 99 as that makes its way off toward the east. Seton, you may be under the gun again if that is the case that we're noticing right there in extreme southeastern Louisa County. So definitely be on guard on that. I think for you in Aledo, it may be taking place just south. However, though, where if that is any type of possible rotation, we can't help but kind of keep our eyes just north of that, where we may be talking about some hail. So if it continues on that course, at least when it comes to the worst part of the storm in Aledo, we're looking at about maybe just 15 minutes for you for that part of the storm to impact your hometown. Viola, just a few minutes after that. And North Henderson, of course, you've been under the gun and we're seeing some pretty active weather so far in the past hour or two. You could be seeing this storm make its way across your hometown. One thing that to keep in mind is, boy, it's so nice to get some of this rainfall after such a dry period. And hopefully we're going to get some at least halfway decent rainfall amounts around here. You know, hopefully, you know, an average, maybe a tenth or a quarter. Looking at the 24-hour rainfall, that forest green color, if you look, you can see about 1 to 2 inches of rain that could potentially have fallen from Mercer County into southern Henry going into about Bureau County. The yellow may be indicating about just at 2 inches itself. So that is some really good rainfall for some of the farmers out there. And of course, we're seeing some very active storms going on to our north. We make our way back to Joe Daviess County, very impressive storm right there that not only has some lightning and heavy rain, but I wouldn't be surprised about some hail. And yeah, we're seeing those colors begin to rise once again.
Yeah, as soon as it just got right over the Mississippi River, we saw that cycle ramping up, now collapsing again. That's going to be another one, except this time it's on the north side of Elizabeth as opposed to the south side that your previous storm was on. I mean, you can see that in the loop here. So yeah, another hail threat for Joe Daviess County with that severe thunderstorm warning. That is going to go probably, I would say probably till about 8. Yep, so about 5 more minutes on that. Likely see that perhaps renewed, if not extended, because the hail threat is still there. You have other numerous thunderstorms, nothing severe unless you go into extreme northeast Carroll County. That also is going to be expiring in about 5 minutes. And based on the lightning data, I would say that thing is quickly de-intensifying there, quickly weakening. More storms trying to form east of the metro, Kelowna, north of Geneseo. Those are not severe at the moment. You know, our main heavy lifters continue to be the one heading into Aledo and now the one that is leaving Stark County. So that's good. We can call the all clear for Stark County. That threat has diminished. And it also looks like we can call all clear for Princeton. your severe thunderstorm warning has been allowed to expire. That warning now goes down into Putnam County, and that is a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning, but lots of vivid lightning there. Do want to give an early heads up for those of you in northern Scott County on the Iowa side of the river. We've been tracking this severe thunderstorm that is just to the west of Dixon, east of Tipton, now in Bennett. That has an 1.5 inch diameter hail associated with it. That warning goes just to the west of Eldridge, and that's till 8:30. We haven't talked about much this region of Scott County and Clinton County and also Jackson County. Those areas have been relatively quiet, but it looks like your luck may be running out here shortly if these storms can maintain themselves.
Yeah, 1.5 inches, that's about ping pong size that is taking place in those that one particular warning, as you mentioned, just around parts of Clinton and even around Stark County. So that's a storm that's kind of riding just north of Interstate 80, making its way pretty much off to the east-northeast. Keep an eye on Eldridge. You may just miss out on this storm, but not the case in areas around DeWitt. I think this storm is heading definitely for you and likely may produce, get some hail in your general direction. So if it holds its course, then we're definitely talking about Eldridge reaching your hometown at about 8:22. So that's about 25 minutes or so from now. Calamus, just about 10 minutes after 8, and even around Grand Mound, I'll get it just about 20 minutes after 8 for you with that storm. So that's a severe thunderstorm warning that goes on until around 8:30 as it makes its way off to the north and east. For the immediate Quad Cities itself, Andrew, it's been relatively quiet. That's some good news. We've heard some rumbles of thunder just outside our station, but that's the only intense part that we've been noticing. We have been seeing some storms now beginning to fire up just east of the immediate Quad Cities, looks like just northwest of Geneseo itself, but that storm itself may be going to be making its way just north of town, which is good news for Cooper, I think, right? Is that true?
Oh, yeah, I've verified he's already in the basement.
He's already in the basement?
He's already in the basement.
What a good dog,
What
I
a
tell
trooper.
you. I wish my dogs try to do that once in a while, too, but Cooper's just right there. What a good dog. But that's making its way off to the north and east, so we'll be definitely keeping an eye on that. Maybe around Joslyn, keep an eye on those storms as it makes its way in your neck of the woods. You can see how this cluster of storms continue to make their way off to the east. Fortunately, that tornado warning will be expiring soon in areas in Stark County. In fact, we can almost kind of get rid of that just because the storms are now off of that county and making its way into Marshall County. That's outside of our viewing area. So that is some fairly good news as well. The beast, I believe, is in Woodhull. Which is pretty quiet, at least what we're seeing on the radar. But there's only so much that we can see on the radar. That's why we go to the beast, which is located outside of Woodhull. And I'm not sure if we have Morgan on the line, but that is really some impressive.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Lightning going on. Yes, Morgan, we can hear you. It looks kind of a little, from the view from our angle, it looks a little shady right there, a little fuzzy. But we want to hear from you. What are you seeing with all that? Looks like lightning going on there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's getting dark, so the camera's trying to pick up on as much light as possible. We're sitting at the Pilot gas station that's just off of I-74 on the Woodhull exit. We've just been sitting here watching this storm, and this storm is the one that is out towards Aledo now, so that warned storm, Wapello and Aledo, so I am pointing the camera completely west. It has been non-stop lightning after lightning strike, like for the past 30 minutes at this point. So yeah, and I've been listening to you guys here, and obviously, like you said, with that current warning that is going through Keithsburg and Viola and just north of Alexis and Aledo as well. Yeah, it doesn't have a radar or a tornado tag to it, but definitely some winds or maybe even some small hail associated with that, but nonetheless, completely electrified.
Yeah, very much so too. And you notice that because it's getting so dark that, we stopped the chasing. We're kind of keeping ourselves in a location that if we do happen to hear any type of damage that may be going on, the beast is going to try and get some pictures of that. But we haven't heard about any damage, and that is some fairly good news. We want to keep it that way as we head in the next couple of hours. But of course, it's not just the lightning and the hail and the potential winds that are coming from these storms. We have to certainly be concerned about any type of heavy rain that may be taking place as well. And I believe now we have a new flash flood warning out for parts of the area. I know Peter or Andrew, I know if you want to kind of jump at that, but this is a brand new flash flood warning that is out until around midnight for parts of Bureau County. That includes Buda, that includes Princeton, and that does include Cherry as well. We've been seeing some excessive rainfall going on here, almost like a training of rain that has been taking place from southwest to northeast. And, disregard the fact that it's 24 hours, this is tonight's rainfall that has been going on, this evening's rainfall. And you can see the green representing 1 to 2, but when you spot that yellow, that now is at 2 inches, okay? And this has fallen in a very short period of time. So we may be talking about some street flooding that may be taking place just around the Princeton area, and spotty from Sheffield eastward towards Cherry itself. So that's kind of what we're a little concerned about with the flooding rains that are going on, especially right there on the interstate itself. When it comes to all that rain that may be taking place, I wouldn't think we are dealing with any more hail from this, but just a good stretch of rain that's going on. Should be ending around Princeton here very shortly. So Princeton's right here, and you can see the tail end of that heavy rain just off to the west itself. So there's your flash flood warning represented in the green polygon until around midnight tonight. Tornado warning in Marshall County, not part of our viewing area, so that is some good news. Otherwise, has been really loaded with a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings that have been taking place. Peter, you got some new information?
Yeah, John, I know you got that. We were speaking of Princeton area. We got that hail that came in.
Yeah, let's take a look at just a couple of pictures here real quick, just to see how big this hail is. First of all, this is
golf ball.
Yes.
Yep.
So you can see this is a little bit larger than golf ball. So this is one image of just a bowl. What a decorative bowl of hail. This one, it seems a little bit larger. You can just see the scale there in this person's hand. Was this Randy that sent this to you, Peter?
This was Randy that sent it to me on Facebook, yeah. Go Cubbies, by the way.
Oh, yeah, there we go. And then just one more note on these power outages. They are really popping off at this point. No surprise, you were talking about Toulon earlier, and that's where we're seeing more than 200 customers there without power. The town there has probably 2,000 people in it, so you can just imagine the impact that they're feeling there. Of course, we assume a lot of this is probably weather related, because as these storms move through these areas, you begin to see these numbers creep up, and that's what's happening. More than 1,000 if you kind of add the different pockets of outages that, at least for Ameren, that they're experiencing. Mid-American remains pretty steady there. I think they're trying to work on some of the outages we talked about earlier today.
Good. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, James.
No, great information right there, John, and we really appreciate that. You know what? I was wanting to get into the fact that, how did this all evolve the way it did, and why we continue with this coverage that has been going on around the area. For anyone that, have been keeping an eye on us, we've been keeping an eye on that boundary that has been primarily just to the south and east of the Quad Cities, where areas along and south of that boundary, you have the threat of seeing some large hail, and you have the threat of seeing even some tornadoes. Whereas north of the boundary, that's where we've been seeing the cooler air, but it allows some of those storms to allow these pebbles of hail to actually accumulate in size, okay? Because this is, once again, a very dynamically driven system. So even though we're noticing temperatures in as low as the lower 40s, it's all about the dynamics that are being involved with this particular cluster of storms that's allowing to have the main threat in these locations in the form of some large hail. Whereas along and south of that boundary, we're seeing higher dew points, normally a sign of a good amount of instability and a lot of moisture to work with in the area, which kind of relates to the heavy rains that have been going on in these areas, especially in areas around Bureau County. And you can see how these temperatures are still looking awfully warm when it comes to those dew points, but also when it comes to our temperatures. I mean, areas around Mount Pleasant, Burlington, Galesburg, Peoria had low 80s for daytime highs. You can see those temperatures have really dropped around Mount Pleasant at 55, but Burlington, you're still reporting a temperature of 74 degrees. And look at the difference from where you are in relation to Mount Pleasant. That's close to a 20-degree difference that we're seeing here. Okay, and you can see how farther north those numbers really begin to cool. And just by the contour colors that we see, that's where that boundary is and why we're still showing you this coverage, because how active this boundary could potentially be still for the next hour or so.
Yeah, very good. It's been an impressive day all over the place. Like you said, the 80s to the south of us, that is exactly what happened. Look at the high temperature in Burlington, 83. I mean, the amount of warmth, that is summer-like. And like Morgan said during one of her first live hits with the Beast, she felt overdressed for the weather, and she was wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
And that just goes to show how warm things got. A lot of you also mentioned you felt the first humidity of the year. You stepped outside and you're like, ooh, you know, it's really humid. And then a lot of you also commented about the temperature change. If you lived in northern Knox County, kind of on the Knox-Henry County border, I had a number of you message me saying, hey, last hour it was 77 degrees and now I'm freezing. I've got a jacket on. That's how sharp that boundary's been. And that's what's gotten us in trouble today with all of the storms, including the tornado threat too. It's good news that actually right now, like James said, we don't have any active tornado warnings in the WQAD News 8 coverage area. Those are now east of us as you go south of Putnam County there and heading closer to Interstate 39. Now it's just more severe thunderstorm warnings. However, you'll notice that if you look off to the southwest of Mount Pleasant and Burlington, there's another cell that's kind of been developing here for the past half hour or so that's starting to get its act together and right along that boundary. And if that thing were to hold together, then we're kind of talking about a threat a little bit further south, say maybe just south of Burlington and also south of Roseville, maybe getting into Macomb eventually too as we approach the 9:30 time frame. So that's something to keep an eye on. Also, don't forget you've got this active severe thunderstorm warning going on for Aledo and just north of Alexis. Should be getting out of Keysburg here shortly. We've been watching a little bit of broad rotation, but noticing on that particular warning, there is no tag saying tornado possible. So this is mainly the hail threat that we're concerned with, and even that is continuing to kind of decrease in intensity. Still that significant storm, again, just moving out of Putnam County. And then as you look to the north, it kind of looks like things are quieting down a little bit too. Even this storm that we were kind of giving you an early heads up for in Scott County seems to be dissipating a little bit. You see the lack of lightning strikes with that, and overall those brighter reds and other colors are starting to diminish quite quickly.
Yeah, very much so. How much time we have on that particular warning there, Andrew?
Sure, let's go ahead and we will grab the deets here. Let's let it load in, and it looks like 8:30, so about 20 minutes.
20 minutes to go on that. That may be a warning that could very likely be canceled a little bit earlier than 8:30, given what we're seeing here on the radar. So that is some good news right there as well. But still, numerous warnings going on. I've ever seen several warnings in Joe Daviess County, and of course that's the current one as that continues to race its way eastward on the east side of the county itself. Not worried about any type of rotation that we are seeing here, but when it comes to being on this reflectivity mode, there's a nice little band that we're noticing that on the north side of it, as we're seeing right here. Likely we're seeing possibly some pea-sized hail out of that. But remember, we're so far away from the radar beam that hail could be a little bit larger than that. So just near Woodbine to about Elizabeth and Stockton going to Warren, that's what we'll keep an eye on. But it won't be long, maybe possibly another 15 more minutes, and that warning will eventually begin to expire itself. But we're starting to see, at least a little bit of some signs of more of the active weather pushing its way out of our WQAD viewing area. We still have to keep an eye on still some storms located just south and west of the Quad Cities. Looks like the northern fringe of that storm may be impacting parts of Rock Island, Moline, and East Moline, I would say. You can see right there on the northern fringe of that. Not sure Milan looks like under the gun now of seeing some of that rain, but the lightning we're not seeing so much of. We would just love to get as much rain as we possibly can here as we get ready to make our way into the growing season. So that will be just grazing parts of Moline and East Moline, maybe actually having a slight impact over in Kelowna as that continues to make his way off toward the east itself. So we'll be keeping an eye on really those storms that we're seeing just off to our south and west. We still have that canary type of color in parts of Mercer County. That storm looks like the most impressive storm out of all that we've seen across our viewing area. And once again, this is until about 8:45, so that's at least another half an hour. That will be, it's already kind of impacting Aledo, but as far as the lightning that we're getting out of this is just south and west of town, making his way off to the east. So around Seton once again, New Windsor. I know we can't get New Windsor so much on here, but that's between Viola and Alexis. New Windsor, we're not forgetting about you, but the core of that storm is definitely going to be impacting you. No question about that. You're just off of 67 there. So just between Viola and North Henderson itself. So you'll definitely be under the gun when that storm makes its way. You can barely see, there they are. Look, there's Viola right there, but then south, I believe, and west of that, it's a little town, right off 40th Avenue right there. We're not forgetting our friends in New Windsor, my goodness, especially with the New Windsor Rodeo, which is always a great event. Yes. A little free advertisement right there. But it's definitely that storm right around Seton. That's a pretty strong part of the storm that is moving from west to east. So New Windsor, you're definitely going to be impacted by that part of the storm. Hard to tell with the contamination that we see right here on the velocity mode. But it looks like it does have at least some pretty decent wind with this as it makes its way from west to east, Andrew. And at least hail size, well, fortunately, doesn't look too impressive, and that's some fairly good news. Maybe about penny or pea size that could very likely be falling just southwest of Aledo itself.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you've got that smaller hail size, a penny or so, south of Aledo. That would, again, if we put the loop on this, if you track it, these storms are moving a little bit more due east. Now, it looks like we've got Morgan back in the beast.
Yeah, this is a live picture from Mercer County. This is from our engineer. It looks like his picture froze there, unfortunately. But as he was driving through Mercer County, you could see the light, and it looked like he was driving right into the storm there a little bit. There we go. But Sevi's sending this to us right now, just to give us an idea of what he's witnessing there. You can see it's dark until those lightning bolts just kind of light up the sky.
Oh, wow.
He's in the mini beast.
The mini
beast, yeah. That's right. It's exclusive here, folks. We have a beast and we have a mini beast, yes.
That is impressive lightning, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive.
That's pretty nice to see how we're seeing the loop with these hail producing storms that are going on, that it's kind of losing a little bit of that punch. And that's a fairly good sign as we kind of start losing some of that daytime hitting. But, you know, here it is, it's 8:15. And given the fact that we're early into March, would you say, Andrew, I mean, we've been doing this for a long time. And, you know, I'm really impressed how some of these storms are still holding themselves together, given the time and given the time of year.
It is impressive. It is very impressive that we were able to work up these kind of dynamics this far north, right into the southern half of the viewing area today. The storm energy, very impressive for this early in March. It takes a lot of sunshine and a very strong south wind to get the kind of storm energy in here that we did today. And it goes to show the power of the March sun. It can do very unpredictable things like bringing your 80s to the region. In fact, if we were to do 80 in the Quad Cities today, it would be the earliest 80-degree reading on record for us.
Wow.
We didn't do that, but hometowns to the south did. So I'm kind of curious if they broke records. I'll have to dig into that a little bit tomorrow.
We do know Burlington did break a record, which was
They
83.
break the record high?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it's their earliest 80, in which that could be the case. I mean, this is early March. That's quite a feat to have happen. So sharp boundary, area of low pressure, no snow on the ground. Yeah, wide open to get that warmth in here and cause a little chaos along the way.
Yeah, and that's still a rather impressive storm in southern Mercer County. I mean, look, just by the quantity of lightning, I think what we're up to over 200, I would believe, on that.
Yeah, 235.
Wow, that's really impressive. So that's a really impressive storm, and of course, the one even farther off to the south and west, just west of Lee County in Iowa there. We're just keeping an eye on those storms. It looks like we got two separate storms going on. Maybe the downdraft from that storm right along the Iowa-Missouri border could be helping to ignite that one storm just outside of Mount Pleasant. Not severe, but still a very decent storm that we're noticing here on the radar.
Yep, that one bears watching. I can give you an update on that severe thunderstorm warning for Scott and Clinton counties. It is canceled. No surprise there. So not expecting anything in DeWitt, at least right now. But it looks like we may need to kind of pay attention here, maybe in the next 30 to 45 minutes. If you look behind where that storm just fell apart, you've got another kind of potent one kind of waiting in the wings here.
Yep.
It doesn't have a warning, but there was just a report, it looks like, of hail just a little bit under an inch, 3/4 of an inch hail, looks like south of West Branch. So that one is going to bear watching if it can maintain itself, maybe strengthen a little bit. Kind of suspect of that, though, because now that we've had that one storm go through, we may have worked over the area, and this one may also fall apart, too. But it's another one that's worth watching, especially if it can hold its own and get into perhaps Clinton County eventually there.
Right. And I think that might have come down from, once again, that storm that decayed in parts of Scott and Clinton County. The downdraft might have kind of helped that storm grow a little bit. But given the fact now we're losing that downdraft from that decaying storm, you're right. That may be a bit more, a short-lived event. Though it may be, it's right now in Cedar County. But yeah, that may begin to fall apart a little bit just because we've lost now some of that downdraft from that particular storm that was trying to feed in, or at least trying to feed into that storm just southwest of Tipton.
Yeah, that's my hope, is that we're going to see that continue to decrease in intensity as it works its way eastward. We can go out, and actually I think we have an update from John.
Yeah, I want to show you something here. Hold on a second before you take my, there we go. Peter, did you post, these are from,
No, Michaela sent them to
oh,
me.
Michaela sent these. These are from Toulon. What do we make of this, guys?
It's interesting.
I wish we could see it in motion.
Yeah,
because
it's hard to tell.
It could be potentially a downburst.
That's what I was
Or
thinking.
a downdraft where we have winds rushing down from the center part of the storm, kicking up the dust, which is very common in these types of situations.
Okay.
But it could also be something else.
Well, that was on the radar, guys.
Was on the
And
radar.
it was at
Remember, we talked about that debris that that's something we haven't seen on that color table when it comes to the, when we're on the, I think that was on the velocity mode, but even on the correlation, the correlation coefficient, it showed some signs there. And you're right, Andrew. It's really hard. I mean, from an image itself, but from the video, I mean, that could have been like a rush of dust coming through. That it could eventually be even a gustnado that might have taken place briefly there too. But that has to be probably the most impressive image that we've seen so far this evening.
And I will say the timing works out. Right around 7:22 p.m. was when that was taken and sent to us, which is when we started to notice that. So
yeah,
wonder if that's maybe what caused that radar signature.
I mean, it's really pretty much a nice link that we saw with the radars and what we're seeing here from the image itself.
Very interesting.
Wow, yeah.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious if the person that sent that in could give us a description of what they saw. Was it rotating? Was it just moving kind of in more of a straight line, not seeing much rotation? Was it broad? Was it covering a wide area, or was it just small and concentrated? Because it's hard to see with the tree there how far back that object extends, whether it's
Right.
a tornado or whether it's a downdraft. But yeah, it got my attention. Oh, there you go, a little bit better picture of the front of it.
Yeah. The name's Rebecca. So Rebecca, if you're watching,
Yeah.
let us know. Please send us some details.
I'm really, really curious to see that because it could go either way. But like James said, you know, that is where we were seeing the signature on radar, where that was a possibility.
Right, right. John, how about we remind people out there who are still wanting to send a photo, video, or even, in this case for Rebecca, maybe even some more details.
Yeah.
How can they go through that?
The best way is, there it is. Those are two ways to do it. If you email us, that gets us the best quality and lets us kind of get that on the air as quickly as possible. But I will say this, we have, I think, if I'm doing my math right, as I'm going through these emails, over 100 submissions from folks all around the area with video and photographs of hail, lightning, and obviously these cloud formations that they are seeing outside their windows. So we want to say thank you to all of you guys because it has helped us sort of understand what's happening out there. As you hear our meteorologists talk about what they're seeing on the radar, you have confirmed that with the photos that you have sent, and that's been very helpful. So thank you for doing that. But again, news@WQAD.com, a great way to send that, and continue to send that because obviously we'll be talking about this not only tonight, but probably into tomorrow morning as well.
Oh, no question about that. No question about it. We really appreciate it, folks. I mean, it's the idea of, you know, kind of verifying, confirming what we've been seeing on the radar with your photos, your videos. It helps us so tremendously because we can certainly advise, warn people who may be in the path of these particular storms, okay? So it just helps us fit the picture even more so. It's like another piece to the puzzle, all right? More pieces you have to the puzzle, the clearer that picture becomes, okay? We have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that just popped up north of the Quad Cities. That does include Jackson, Clinton, Carroll County, I believe, parts of Whiteside County. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Carroll County, and then parts of Joe Davies as well, until around 9 p.m. or so. Possibility of maybe seeing some hail and a little puff of wind that we may be getting out of this, and it's likely coming from this cell that we see just east of Princeton, maybe even stretching just across the river, heading towards Savannah. This may be an area where we may be talking about a little bit of some hail as that continues to make his way off to the north and east. So in your path of this, just be advised when it comes to this storm, it does have some nice lightning with it that could cause maybe just a brief power outage, but nothing more than that as that continues to make his way off to the northeast. And I believe it was moving about 50 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour off to the north and east. So this is our hail probability, and yeah, showing this storm that has been growing a little bit and could potentially reach quarter size. Once again, that's enough to cause some damage. So that's a big concern that we have with this storm as it makes its way off to the north and east. And like I said, maybe a little rush of wind, but this is kind of on the low end, I think, when it comes to this severe thunderstorm warning that is expected to go on until about 9 o'clock as that makes its way off toward the north and east.
Yeah, we seem to be decreasing the hail size. Seem to be decreasing the hail size, there we go, which is good now that the warnings are only showing an inch, because earlier, remember, we had 2 3/4 of an inch being indicated with some of the severe thunderstorm warnings. So that is some welcome news. How many, let's see how many by count we have warnings in total here. So no tornado warnings ongoing right now. Severe thunderstorm warnings, I count about 3 in total right now across the region. And the strongest storm continues to be the one that is heading right on through Mercer County there into Aledo. That's where you're still indicating perhaps some hail, a little bit larger than 1 inch in diameter, approaching golf ball size. Very electrified storm. It's holding its own. Got to give it that. You know, haven't seen much decrease in intensity here as we put a loop on this. And you see that warning goes all the way to Viola, Alexis, right on through New Windsor, and it's just west of Woodhull there. You've got another kind of intensifying line of storms, not severe, but is also gaining some strength. And this would be in southern Whiteside County. And I'm going to go there right here north of Hoopole. And you've got Tampico, that's south of Sterling Rock Falls, southeast of Prophetstown. Again, nothing severe, but some heavy rain and a good amount of lightning currently with that. As James said, you know, this storm not really showing really intense hail. It is warned for hail 1 inch in diameter, but I've been kind of watching our hail tracker here, and it doesn't look that impressive at all, at least of it right now. So it may have been one of those cases where it was rapidly cycling up. Now it's kind of fallen apart and the threat is decreasing, it looks like, for northern Carroll County. So I wouldn't be surprised if that gets expired or canceled early, because it just doesn't look that impressive.
No, Andrew, I was looking at the 3D scaling. It's pretty much nothing. There's not a lot of updraft velocity-wise. It was kind of on the front end for a little bit, but that's collapsed now in about the last 5 minutes, tracking that on the 3D model. So.
Okay, that's some good news then, that we're seeing that go. So yeah, right now that would be our area of concern, would be right there in Mercer County.
And a new warning.
New warning just popped up.
See who our new warning is. Oh, I didn't mean to close that.
Looks like a Rock Falls area.
Is it for that storm we just looked at? Oh, yep, there it is. All right.
Popped up. And kind of the same structure as the one that we just noticed just off to our northwest as well.
Whoa.
But what's interesting, Andrew, I just want to let you know on my Facebook, a couple of viewers from Sterling Rock Falls, they're, you know, you're from Sterling Rock Falls, and they just want to know, Andrew, can you tell us, are we okay? Are we okay in Sterling Rock Falls?
Well, we got to get you through this storm, which is definitely cranking up a little bit more. So if you put the loop on this here to see where it's going, notice this one's kind of pulling more northeastward. So it's removed from the front. This is more of a hail threat. And it looks like that would be most pronounced near Tampico. South of Rock Falls is where you would likely see that hail threat start to grow. There you see it north of Hoopole right now. That would head right into Tampico. And probably just north of Deer Grove would be my guess on that. The tiny town of Deer Grove, 50 people, I think, live there, right along Illinois 40. There you see, there's your time of arrival, Tampico about 8:39. So I think that stays south of Sterling Rock Falls, but definitely south of Rock Falls near Tampico, that hail potential seems to be increasing for you. Hail size, you see something popping up there south of Illinois 92. Put that in motion, see what we've got. Yeah, it was a little robust earlier. Now it's just kind of holding steady right now. So we'll see. Be interesting to see if that grows as it heads into Tampico.
I know we got. I know the viewers in Tampico, one in particular, the Lesters out there. They were weather watchers. For us here at WQAD. They always keep in touch with us, how everything is going. And so, Lester's, you just bear down. You got that one storm coming your way that could have a little hail with it. So definitely be on guard. So a little hello from us to you out there in Tampico.
We love it. Absolutely love it. You can see there's the live look at downtown Rock Falls. Some of the rain doesn't look overly heavy as of right now, but yeah, definitely raining there. I'm trying to see if I can move our P-Town camera a little bit here.
Andrew, as you do that, can I show you a quick picture here? This is from our honorary reporter tonight, Sevi, again, our engineer who sent us that video earlier. But if we can, this is from his uncle. I think this is the largest hail that we've gotten sent today.
Is that the billiard ball?
That might be the billiard ball that we talked about earlier, yeah.
Looks bigger than one.
Do we have a location? I'm sorry.
That's east of Woodhull.
East of Woodhull.
East of Woodhull.
Okay.
Wow.
And apparently he is also telling us that he's in Sherrard, where it is hailing right now.
Okay, that's Tiger Country right there, yeah. We got to, you know, if it is hailing out there, I don't think it's what we're seeing right there on that picture, which is really impressive. That's probably the biggest hailstone we've seen so far this season, if not last season. That is really impressive. That
I don't remember anything this big in the past few years, to be honest with you.
At least when it comes to some of the photos and videos that we've been getting from people. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen that type of size there, John.
And, you know, speaking, you were just saying Sherrard, right, for hail. That storm is ramping up again, heading right into Viola. We're getting the hail signature that's starting to spike again. Right now, radar estimating over 2-inch diameter hail, sitting just north of town, north of Viola, south of Matherville. So if you're in that area, we'll put the hail tracker on here. Might take a minute for our algorithm to catch up, but you can see, yep, we're getting in trouble again here, heading right for Highway 67. US 67, it's going to cross here shortly, and we'll put the loop on this, and then we'll put the tracker on it. There you see, we're ticking up in intensity again.
And like you said, Andrew, I mean, this is, I think, just a small handful of these storms, these supercell storms that have been actually recycling itself. It can happen, especially when you're dealing with the conditions in our area with that boundary nearby and in allowing to help produce a little bit of that lift or helicity that goes on and providing that spin to keep the structure going, maybe that negative tilt that we have, so allows that inflow of air to keep this storm going, because this storm started well west of the river and it's still holding together and could very likely be in a situation where we might extend this severe thunderstorm warning in parts of southern Henry County within the next few minutes or so.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. We'll put the tracker back on it so you can see where it's going, and then it looks like we also have increasing hail potential with that storm that is in southern Whiteside County that we're going to need to go back to and revisit here in a moment as well. I can see that hail signature increasing. This is heading due east, so there's your time of arrival, 8:37 for Sherrard. You've got Woodhull in there at 8:47, and then perhaps eventually, if it can hold its own, getting to Cambridge, Galva, and then Kewanee again. So that's the strongest one, it appears, at least in terms of the potential hail size. Then you've got this one here where the hail probability is now increasing. As you go into southern Whiteside County, we can put the hail size back up on here. Still doesn't look impressive here, but I'll tell you what, that hail potential is increasing, and our radar algorithm is now indicating the hail size is approaching 1 3/4 inches. So we're getting a little bit dangerously close to 2 inches there if that trend of strengthening can continue as this heads into Tampico. It looks like it's heading right for Tampico, actually, to speak of things, at least the strongest part of the storm. So zoom in a little bit closer there and put the loop. And there you see, you're looking for that dark red, kind of where the purples are, to the west of Blue Goose Road, north of Osage Road. That's where that hail is, and it is heading right into Tampico. So if you're watching from Tampico, likely at least going to see quarter-sized hail, but if it keeps intensifying, radar indicating it could be as large as 1 3/4 inches. So that's impressive. No wonder we have a severe thunderstorm warning there. Good call by the National Weather Service.
Yeah, very much so, as that continues to make its way off to the east. That's been the one storm that's really been holding itself together. It's actually kind of running along the boundary itself. And you can see from the help of our beast, and what could I say, mini beast?
Mini beast, yeah, I think
okay.
so. So our mini
lightning
beast
is going
in Sherrard, and the beast is in Woodhull.
That's something. I mean, I just looked outside our station looking to the south, and it is just going crazy when it comes to the lightning that's going on. I wish I was on my front porch watching all this. Oh, my goodness. What an impressive sight that we're seeing here. And that just, once again, Andrew, you mentioned about the fact that this vivid lightning, it's all because of the variance of the hail that is taking place within these storms, going up the cloud and down the cloud, producing that charge.
That's right. If you want a little mini physics lesson, when hail particles collide, that is a lot more friction versus water particles colliding. And think about it, a water droplet is smooth. It doesn't have a lot of rough surface area, but a hailstone is extremely rough depending on the shape and the size, and that just makes a bigger charge in the clouds. So it's just another one of those signs you look for when not only you're looking at storm intensity, but the hail production too. And judging by all the pictures that John and Peter have shown us so far this evening, that is the case. We're seeing the hail.
Yeah, and that is just really impressive to see.
Wow.
It's nice that we can throw a little physics, little science in here. I mean, seriously, I think what's really nice is, you know, when we hear from viewers, they always like to have a little science. You know, why are we seeing so much vivid light? There's a great example right there.
Yeah.
So it's nice that we can throw a little bit of our science, a little meteorology in why this is happening and how long it could potentially last, not given what we've been seeing on the radar.
So, I mean, it's just constant.
Oh, my goodness.
Constant flashing. That's impressive.
I'm not sure if we can actually go even to the Eagle Eye on top of the Call Building in downtown Davenport. If that was looking toward the south, we can, you know, kind of what I've been seeing outside our station here, where these storms remain south of the Quad Cities, and that's some fairly good news, but it is an impressive lightning display that is going on just south of our area here.
Yeah, I'm sure it is visible for miles.
Oh, yeah.
And also remember, too, the cloud tops. And I think this is something that Peter can pull up on his display.
Yep.
The height of these clouds, how far up into the atmosphere they've been able to reach, which has also been impressive for this early in March. A lot of time we get this time of year what we call low-topped supercells because we don't have enough storm energy to get them to be very high into the atmosphere. Today, no. We had
They're
actual
climbing.
supercells.
Yeah, they're skyrocketing almost, you could say.
Something we'd see like in June.
Exactly. You would think, right? With the moisture we saw too, just allowed these things to bubble up here today. But looking at the height of these clouds right now, kind of specifically right over Viola, you're looking at give or take right around 50,000 feet right now. And there is a hail core kind of reaching up to right around that 20 to maybe 40,000 foot mark here as well. So something we're definitely watching, I will say. Correlation coefficient is also kind of a very good representation up there right now as well. You can see right around, I'd say, the 20,000 foot mark, you're getting that lift, and that's where kind of that core is developing kind of right over Viola right now. And yeah, as Andrew's showing you there, it's giving it some pretty good size, right around what I'd say ping pong ball, maybe during golf ball at the max, 1 to 1.5.
Yeah, some of the radar returns, especially the algorithm that we use, indicating still approaching 2 inches in diameter, especially as you are north of Viola. That appears, it actually looks like right over Viola is where the strongest or largest hail could potentially be falling. It's not a guarantee you're going to see close to 2-inch hail when the radar tells us that, because there's some melting, some other physics going on, but it's a good indication that you're going to at least see something bigger than an inch, perhaps an inch and a half. Latest scan coming in at 1.8 inches for the hail in Viola right now. So that would be, quite significant, definitely damaging.
And you can see this is from our Eagle Eye. That's on top of the Cobbling in downtown Davenport. Keep in mind, for the immediate Quad Cities, everything is still looking pretty quiet. All the activity has been mainly to the north, but especially just to the south and east. So these are the storms, the lightning flashes that we're seeing here are part of those storms that we're noticing in southern Mercer County, which continues to make its way more to the east than any real chance for it to make its way to the north. So for the immediate Quad Cities, we're looking pretty good. We've seen a little rain here and there, but not too much. So that's been fairly good news as far as the impact when it comes to this severe weather event that has been going on now here for, at least a good, 3 hours or so.
Yeah, by my count, we're getting there. Oh, look at that. Oh my.
This is one way to kind of get a sense of how big the hail is.
It's creative.
It's creative.
Who is this from, John?
Oh my goodness. This is from Al Erickson out in Princeton, who
Oh my goodness.
knows how to keep his beer cool. I think he had your idea. He's probably sitting on his porch enjoying these.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what, James? How far could you hit these golf balls?
Oh. They have dimples.
They do have dimples, but, you know, my outcome is they're going to hook to the left or a slice to the right. Let's
What
put it
club
that
would
way.
you use?
Including that golf ball itself.
Yeah, what club are you using here, James?
It doesn't really matter.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, thanks to Lynn for this photo, by the way.
And who is this from?
Lynn in Princeton.
In Princeton.
Yeah, Princeton seems to have gotten all the action.
Oh, my word.
That is really impressive. And we've been seeing golf ball size. It's nice to confirm all this stuff. You know, what we've been seeing on the radar and going to that algorithm, determine the size that has been going on and how we can relate to that. You know, that has been certainly one of a good handful of reports in areas south of the Quad Cities with these hailstones from at least quarter size, but as large as baseball size that has been going on around the area. We haven't heard much as far as any reports of any hail damage. That may be a different story come tomorrow when we eventually start adding more of those storm reports. But right now, when it comes to the largest hail that may be taking place, that could be golf ball size, is just outside of Tampico there, pushing his way just east of 172, Illinois 40 right there, just west of that. And that continues to make its way off toward the east, right around Ridge and Herd Road right there. And Deer Grove, well, you're right, and you're going to be seeing some hail out of this. The question is that size, but given what we've been showing here, wouldn't be surprised if we're actually talking about at least quarter size to maybe even golf ball size as it continues to make its way off to the east.
Yeah, that certainly still seems to be the case. And as we talked about earlier, the Deer Grove possibility looks like that's still on track, heading right over Illinois 40 and then continuing to the east. That would eventually take it into Lee County, so well south of Dixon and Harmon. That's where that storm will eventually be heading to. And you look at reflectivity, it's still holding on. You still have a lot of lightning. We haven't ramped that down yet. So still something we're going to have to track here while that warning is in place. And just to remind you how long that is in place for, it is until the top of the hour. So we have about 19 more minutes on that. We're still also, of course, keeping an eye on what's going on with this storm that did have some observed hail earlier south of Tipton, it looked like. Now it's still weakening a little bit, but still kind of fluctuating in intensity. There's no warning with it right now, but we're continuing to keep an eye on it because it's heading for northern Scott County. That's an area that really hasn't seen much in terms of storm activity quite yet. That's interesting. Let's see where that is. Okay, so now we're talking about that southern storm.
Yep.
And let's see if we can pop up those details. So that's just west of Fort Madison. You got Donaldson in there, Montrose in there as well. And looks like we're going to track just south of Burlington itself. So maybe Burlington getting lucky here and this may stay away from you. That's got a long ways to go. That's got more than an hour on that particular warning. That's a tornado warning, radar detected. It's a challenge down here. As we always say, especially down in Burlington, it is so far away from the radar that when we look at rotation and we do a radar indicated tornado warning, we know there's rotation in the mid levels of the storm, but it is extremely difficult to see what goes on at the bottom of that storm where we see the rotation and tornado develop. So velocity data, I can attempt to pull it up here, but I tell you what, it's going to be absolutely useless, unfortunately. It's just too far away from the radar.
But if we had to go ahead, Andrew, and kind of put a circle as to where that circulation may be, probably around, what would you say, given where we're seeing the polygon, and it just was issued probably right near the Mount Sterling area?
Yep, right near Mount Sterling.
That's probably where they issued the warning itself, and I think there was a spotter out there that thought they saw a wall cloud that was sinking from the base of the cloud itself. So that's probably why they even put that out there. And of course, our friends at the National Weather Service, with their high-tech toys, they were able to kind of give us, they probably have a much slightly better view of that potential circulation and why they put that warning out. Any warnings that do pop up when it comes to flash flood warnings, severe thunderstorm, tornado warnings, that's all done by our friends at the National Weather Service, okay? So there's a good reason why they put that tornado warning out for parts of Lee County, and that was until like 9:15 or so, or did I just miss that?
The new tornado warning?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. That went till 9:45.
9:45,
Yep.
My apologies on that. So that's the reason for that. So we're just keeping an eye. We'll keep an eye on that one as it continues to make its way eastward. Of course, we're keeping an eye on those storms that we see right around southern Henry County with that new severe thunderstorm warning that has been extended for those hometowns.
Yeah, not surprised that they're going to extend that further. You can see the storm still maintaining intensity. Notice, though, the different color of the polygons. So the old one, tornado development possible. The new one, not indicating that potential right now. But still, I think it is, like we've been saying all night long, it's worth a gander to watch and see what happens, especially these interesting-looking features on the southwest side of the storm, just getting out of Viola. Again, this is the one where we had radar indicating potential baseball-sized hail, getting close to that. If you look at the hail probability, it's still elevated, getting out of Viola, heading to the east for I-74 north of Woodhall. And yes, again, we're starting to see another decrease in intensity of the hail size, but this may ramp up again as it approaches I-74. Oh, Beast is still in Woodhall. Perfect. That's exactly where we're focusing our attention now with the new severe thunderstorm warning. And my goodness, the lightning. Wow. That is very impressive. And I just have not seen
Oh, yeah.
any
Can you guys hear
decrease
me?
in lightning intensity. Oh, hey, Morgan, can you hear us?
We're quite jealous
Yeah,
as far
and
as the amount of lightning
I've
you're
been getting
seeing
a
out there.
show here.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I have to say this camera is able to kind of pick up a lot more of that light than I can see with the human eye out here. But it's quite literally, I've just been hearing James say he wishes he was on his front porch watching. I feel like I kind of got the lucky straw here because we've been sitting here just watching this, and it is insanely electrified. It has been lightning strike after lightning strike. It's been like this for an hour, and yeah, we positioned ourselves in a pretty good spot. Again, yeah, I've been watching that hail core pretty closely, but for now, I think we're at a decent location, but also at a great location that if we need to kind of inch ourselves a little south just to miss that hail core, but definitely a very striking core there on radar for sure.
Are you getting some wind out there as well, Morgan?
Yeah, we got a little bit of a kind of a gust front, just a tiny gust front that just pushed through maybe about 10 minutes ago. It was like almost instant. You started to see the wind kind of pick up a little bit. It's not too windy out here, not anything that's too striking, but definitely started to get breezy. We're now starting to hear a little bit more of that thunder now from the lightning because, again, I've been able to watch it here, but once you get that storm to come a little closer to you, then you can start to actually hear a lot of that thunder that's associated with it as well.
It looks like some of that rain is starting to pick up. At least we assume from the camera, from the beast, that is some pretty good rain that's now starting to increase where you are.
Yeah, definitely. And it didn't start falling here, again, maybe within the past 5-10 minutes that we just really started to see some of this rain begin to fall down. And again, I'm looking at radar right now. It's likely I can start hearing it. There it goes. It's about to start coming down even harder. So, yeah, we're starting to get within that storm. Just definitely keeping a close eye out on that hail core because it is directly just to the west of us.
All right, be very careful out there. Once again, yeah, if you feel like things are getting a little bit out of hand, just make sure that you move to that safe place. But that's definitely some rain that we see taking place, including that lightning that's going on as well. Look at that rain just coming.
Yeah, definitely just started coming down as we're on the air right now. You're seeing it live time.
Wow.
All right, Morgan. Hey, thank you so much. Once again, keep us updated. Make sure you keep in contact with the booth in case we have to break to you in that situation. Let's go and check that radar again where Morgan is. And yeah, you can see how that heavy rain is now getting ready to make his way in her location. Of course, of all that lightning kind of focused just outside of town itself. So no surprise what we're seeing on the radar is definitely what Morgan is experiencing as well as that makes his way off to the east. But that's that severe thunderstorm warning. You're concerned about some of that hail that may be going on. The core itself kind of losing a little bit of its punch, but that kind of yellow to green color that we have there, that may be indicating at least quarter size, as indicated by our algorithm there, pushing his way and heading toward the Woodhull area.
Yeah, we can put the tracker back on that too to show you the time of arrival. And here we go again for Kewaunee, getting slammed again with a potential another storm. It's unfortunate too that look where it goes after that, an area that has already received probably at this point more than 2 inches of rain from repeated storm activity. So we may see the flash flood threat in Bureau County intensify if this storm gets over there at its current strength. That would only add to the problems that we're seeing with the rising of creeks and streams there. But back to this guy here, and again, a very healthy, robust looking storm. It's had the lightning all evening long. Have not really seen too much of a downward trend in that. But there's your time of arrival. You've got Cambridge in there at 54 minutes, so 6 minutes until the top of the hour. Getting into Galva at 9:08, Kewaunee 9:14, Neponsit at 9:25, and Buda at 9:34. So another looks like active perhaps hour for Henry County getting back into Bureau County. Hopefully the storm will weaken as it gets into Bureau County, but this thing has already been going over areas that have seen storms, and it's still maintaining its intensity. So that's why the severe thunderstorm warning has been extended as far east as Kiwani that you're seeing there. In terms of any tornado threat, it really seems like we're starting to quickly wind that down as we approach the 9 o'clock hour. These storms, especially now where they're located very far away from the front where we had the better spin and the better rotation, that's why you see the ongoing tornado warning much further to the south here as you get into extreme southeast Iowa near Fort Madison and Donaldson. That's where you have the front situated where you're going to get the spin. Now north of that is where we have what we call elevated instability. It sits just above the ground. It produces mainly hail producing storms with, of course, a whole lot of lightning. So that's something worth keeping an eye on. Again, if it heads into Princeton, could increase the flash flood threat. Some good news on this storm too. If you look at the hail probability, it also decreasing. As it moves out of Tampico, it's now over Deer Grove. Could be some small, perhaps penny-sized hail, maybe nickel-sized hail with this as it moves into Deer Grove and then crosses Illinois 40. But overall, that storm has been trending down in intensity, and I wouldn't expect that warning to get probably extended into Lee County at this point. So that leaves us with our big storm, not much going on up here, nothing severe. The storm here in northern Scott County continuing to hold on a little bit, but it is not severe. Could be some small hail in that, though, some non-severe hail. This continues to be the big priority right now. It is really the only strong storm, severe storm that we have in the area at this time.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, too, Andrew, that when we look at this and look at how open it is, there's nothing that's really blocking this storm as far as the moisture and the instability flowing into it. It's pretty quiet right here right now. And given what the boundary is we just mentioned, and the temperature is being still fairly warm, fairly humid, and quite unstable, that's probably why it's still holding itself together. Likely because of the fact there's no other storms. If we had storms down here, excuse me, this would very likely be diminishing as it makes its way off toward the east, okay? So with nothing that we see to the south of it, that storm's gonna kind of hold its own as it makes its way from west to east.
Yeah, great point.
I gotta get some water here.
Grab some water. And that's a great point. There is nothing cutting off the flow of some of that still unstable air that's sitting to the south of it. So that's why we're likely seeing the repeated activity. We can go to the storm energy. You can still see there's some to the south of the boundary that is riding up over the boundary. It gets in a little bit higher in the atmosphere, so it's not at the ground level where we typically would see our instability. We call this elevated instability, and hence, because it exists higher up in the storm, you're getting these hail producing thunderstorms. So until all of that goes away, which will likely happen here in about the next hour or two, once we get to 10 o'clock, I think a lot of this really begins to quiet down. That's going to continue to feed a couple of those storms, especially the uninterrupted ones on the southern fringe. There is still some shear that's favorable as well, though you can see the strongest part of the shear is now working its way into Peoria and also into east central Illinois. That's where we have ongoing tornado warnings in the Peoria market heading into I-39. So the better shear dynamics are working away, which is good in terms of the tornado threat. Notice again, the only tornado warning we have is down near the front, which is an extreme southeast Iowa. We don't have any other tornado warnings in play right now.
And that's the one we certainly have to be concerned about in the next hour or so, with that tornado warning going on in parts of Lee County, Iowa. Yep. As that makes its way from west to east. There's a little bit of a little couplet that we see just west of Donaldson. Can you see that, Andrew?
Just west of Donaldson, yes.
Yeah, just to the west there. We're going to kind of show you that in just a little bit. Here's Farmington, there's Donaldson, and this warning has been going on for the past 15 minutes or so, but certainly this could be that circulation or that possible rotation just around Farmington itself, and sure enough, there it is. Look at that, and that's part of what we're looking at, and that's fairly impressive given how far away we are from the center of the radar beam, which is in Mount Joy, Iowa. So this is rather impressive that we can still see some type of rotation right there on 2 itself and making its way toward Donaldson. So if it holds that same course, And that could be allowing this storm to at least produce another warning, whether I'm not sure whether it be a tornado warning once we get to the river itself. But one storm that is still looking very impressive, very mature as it makes its way off to the east-northeast. So if it does impact Fort Madison, we're talking about, you know, maybe just about 35 minutes or so from now for that storm to hit the river itself. Okay, so that's one we'll keep an eye on, certainly. But for now, it's still just off of our viewing area and pushing his way off toward the east. Lee County, not in our viewing area, but we know that we hear from some viewers out there, especially around Fort Madison itself and even around West Point, Nauvoo. We usually hear from people as well. So we want to at least make sure that you guys are informed about that part of the storm as it makes its way off to the east. Of course, if it holds together, Dallas City, maybe even around Macomb, may be impacted by this storm. But it's still fairly mature. We'll see what happens as it makes its way eastward. Keep in mind that, you know, even though the dynamics are looking pretty good, we're starting to lose a lot of that daytime heating, especially for hometowns south of the Quad Cities, where we had a good stretch of 80s, low 80s for daytime highs. From around Farmington, the West Point, Fort Madison, Burlington, even heading in toward Macomb itself at temperatures for highs in the lower 80s. So we still got some very nice tropical air, Gulf air, that's impacting this storm, and why it's still holding itself, and in some cases even strengthening as well, because we've been seeing a whole lot of lightning coming out of here, about 250 strokes that have been taking place. And refresh my memory here, Andrew, but you know, when we show these lightning strikes, is the interval that we see. 250, over 250 strikes every...
Those are the last 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, I had a feeling. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And that's pretty impressive as that storm makes its way from west to east.
Yeah, it looks like we do have possibly a spotter confirmed tornado in Farmington. So that is an interesting development we're going to have to keep a watch on. Again, we're waiting for confirmation on that. I was curious with Peter, because again, we're talking about, we're shooting very high up into the storm here.
Yep.
And we're able to see the notch, but I was curious if Peter could see on his radar product, how high up into the storm are we looking?
Yeah,
What's the lowest level?
Let's get that base reflectivity up, and give me 1 second to pull this up for you guys. We're going right over Farmington. We'll do a cross section here. The lowest level, well, it's actually popping up down near 10,000 feet. According to my cross section you're seeing here, we can pull that up. So it's actually getting relatively near the surface here, at least just with our base reflectivity. What we can do is switch this over to the velocity, which kind of is a better determiner with these storms. Let's look at our base velocity. And there is actually, look at that.
Oh,
that
that's
little mark.
interesting.
Look at that, right around 10,000 feet. This is what we're talking about right here. That's indicating that spin making its way down towards the surface. And we can kind of adjust this. So let's go to the south here. There's Keosauqua. And yeah, it's kind of right near that Farmington mark where we're seeing that. So we can line this up and kind of give you guys that perspective. So
that's really good, Peter.
This right here is lining up right here along Farmington on the line, if that makes sense. So.
Did I see that's up about 20,000 feet, that rotation?
Yep, up to 20,000.
That is a well-established, what we call mesocyclone that's ongoing within the thunderstorm. So we'll wait and see if we get official word about the confirmed tornado. Again, not confirmed, but there's speculation or at least some talk that maybe something may have just blown through Farmington, right there in extreme southeast Iowa.
Wow. Yeah.
The data looks like it might.
Yeah, supports it, that's for sure.
And that, once again, that's still quite impressive that we're able to get that type of data so far away from the radar itself. And that looks fairly impressive right there. Yeah, just outside of Farmington. I think we're getting, you know, other broadcast meteorologists out of the Quincy area, I believe, trying to determine if, hey, you know, anyone who's in Farmington, let us know, is there any damage that may be going on? Because what we're seeing on the radar is definitely that something is on the ground right around the Farmington area, and looks like has eyes for Donaldson right there on State Road 2 there, heading toward Donaldson.
Yeah, and the National Weather Service is talking about when the next warning update comes out, they're going to heighten the wording, increase the damage wording to considerable. So it sounds like they're becoming more and more convinced that something is indeed going on right there now east of Farmington.
Interesting. We also did just get a warning in northern Scott County, north portions here of the QCA Metro. That just came out.
There it is. We'll go right to it there. And you see, yeah, looks like that storm is intensified just a little bit more.
Teensy
That
bit.
was the one we were kind of tracking there. Lightning display still isn't really impressive, but it does look like there's some hail potential sitting west of Eldridge. We'll zoom in a little bit further. There's Donahue, north of Maysville. This is north of Interstate 80, by the way. And let's put the loop on this to see what the evolution has been. Holding steady, probably nickel-sized hail, I would say. I can pull up the other radar product and see what its algorithm says, and we have got, let's see, there it is, less than an inch in diameter, at least as of right now, estimated by radar. So we'll see if that can uptick in intensity a little bit more. Again, this is an area that really hasn't seen that much storm activity so far this evening. Heading into areas south of Clinton. Now, Clinton itself, you had some hail reports earlier this evening, but the areas to your south really haven't seen too much. So we'll be watching that. We can put the details on the screen, then we'll throw the tracker on it for you. Let's get the details here. And there's our warning that goes until 9:45. So we got 45 minutes on that. And let's go ahead and put the tracker on there. This is heading more northeast. Not surprising. It's well north of the front. So we're going to get that northeastward push. And there you see the ETA, the estimated time of arrival. It looks like this is going to be just north of Eldridge proper in terms of the hail threat. Parkview's in there. McCausland's in there. Lowmore. You also have Clinton, the municipal airport, and then Comanche, all within the next 30 minutes for some potentially hail reaching quarter size if it can strengthen just a little bit more.
Right, and that's kind of what, once again, it's kind of the low end of this severe thunderstorm warning. Let's keep that in mind. So given the fact that we haven't been seeing much as far as the lightning, as Andrew, as you just mentioned, it's been more of a rain, but maybe some hail that could reach quarter size. So that's why, we have this warning out, just to see, because we have been noticing a little bit of strengthening, a little bit of growing here with this particular storm. And we're also been noticing a little bit more lightning. Anytime you kind of put these storms in motion, after a half an hour, 45-minute loop, and you start seeing a little bit more and more of that lightning, that's always a good indication, obviously, that this storm is still maturing, and that's kind of why this warning came out. This wasn't much of a storm itself. It was certainly way out in Iowa City and making its way eastward, and now we're finally getting a warning on this just because we're seeing that's kind of a little bit of that rejuvenation going on. But this is pretty much in the low end of this severe thunderstorm warning as it makes its way off to the north and east. So once again, Eldridge, Cordova, Clinton, you'll definitely be under the gun on seeing this storm make its way across your hometown. Hopefully you're going to get some really nice rainfall out of this. And once again, this storm out of southern Henry County, it's still holding itself together. There's nothing breaking that inflow into this storm, so it's still holding itself together, producing some very heavy rain, likely getting some pretty decent hail out of this, maybe even approaching at least nickel size with this part of the storm just outside of Cambridge. And if that does hold together, you could be talking about maybe a little hail in places around Galva and even around Kewanee. More pronounced possibly expected around Kewanee, given our velocity mode that we're seeing here, indicating maybe some pretty good winds coming down ahead of the storm itself. Nothing that we see as far as any type of real circulation going on here, so that is some fairly good news. We don't have that canary type of color that would give us any indications that this particular storm may be able to spin out a tornado. We don't see that as well. So this is a very well mature, strong, severe thunderstorm that continues to make its way off to the east, and we don't expect this to really fall apart too much as that makes its way even into parts of Bureau County and maybe the northern quarter of Stark County heading in toward Bradford itself. So as long as we don't see any break in the flow going into the storm, this will continue on eastward going into the next hour or so. I'm always kind of pardon me? The beast is actually in the area when it comes to this storm. Well, anytime you want to go right to that video of the beast, let's go ahead and show that off. if we can. And once again, there is Morgan Strackbine doing some chasing in the beast when it comes to that particular storm. There she is, smiling even as of this time of the night. Morgan, why don't you give the details of where you are and certainly, more importantly, what you're seeing.
Yeah, I do want to take you immediately outside. It's kind of like paparazzi outside for the beast because we've just had nonstop lightning. This is pointing, again, we are now leaving Woodhall. We are traveling northbound on I-4 towards the Metro Quad Cities. So pointing the camera just off to my east, that is that storm that is still warned heading towards the Kewaunee-Galva region. Again, like you said, no loss of lightning strikes for sure with that storm. It's still constantly electrified. But then I do want to point the camera now pointing to north again. So this is traveling north, and you can see more lightning off in the distance. Of course, that is that storm that you guys have been talking about that is north of the Metro Quad Cities with that Scott County warn system heading through Eldridge and Parkview.
All right, very good. How about the rain, though? It doesn't look like there's really much rain going on, with the exception of all that lightning that we see out in the distance.
Yeah, we definitely got through some heavy pockets of rain once that system that is, again, pushing into Kewaunee. It was heavy rain. We actually moved the beast to go under the gas station, just take cover in case we did see any hail. It seemed like it inched right past us, and then we started to get on I-74 just to really see if we could see any hail, at least on the interstate. I didn't see anything there, but again, some pretty heavy pockets of rain and some good gusty winds with that system that is traveling into Kewaunee. But other than, yeah, the pocket that we are in right now, again, we are just coming up upon near Orion, but again, we are on I-74, so Orion is just off to our west right now. And so, yeah, pretty calm conditions right here when it comes to the rainfall. It's actually really not raining much here, but like I said, we are getting such a show here when it comes to the lightning.
And more importantly, too, which is pretty good, I mean, this once again shows, the veteran in Morgan when it comes to chasing that, when she sees herself in relationship to the storm in the beast itself, avoiding any of the large hail that has been going on, any of the heavy rain that has been going on. She's always thinking about safety first, folks, and that's the whole importance, the whole reason why we have the beast out there, why we're doing this type of chasing. So that's why we keep an eye on some of these storms, why there's only so much that we can see on the radar. So for her to go ahead and give us more details, once again, that helps the viewer out, that helps us report what we could potentially see with any other towns that may be in the path of these storms. So yeah, nice job out there, Morgan. Once again, really appreciate that. We're getting some reports out of Lee County of a confirmed tornado that is actually on the ground right around Donaldson. And let's see if we're able to get a better fixture on that. There is a report of a tornado with the help of a few spotters in Donaldson itself.
You can, the radar, you can easily see that. Right there outside of Donaldson. Now keep in mind, the radar scan is about 1 minute to 2 minutes behind reality, but you can clearly see Donaldson. There is clear rotation, very strong rotation. And remember, we're looking this a little bit more above the ground, but it's even impressive if you look at the storm relative velocity, which kind of enhances the view of the spin a little bit more. A lot of rotation outside of Donaldson. And you can see how this has kind of evolved just over the last hour, kind of really maintaining the rotation all the way since Farmington, where we also could have potentially seen a report there as well. Still working to confirm that, but that is traveling right along to there. And on its current path, just kind of staring at this for a minute, because it looks like it is more east than northeast. That could potentially be something that gets into Fort Madison and gets into areas south of Burlington if it continues on its current strength here. And like you said earlier too, there's nothing to the south of this that is, really inhaling the storm energy. So it's got all of that in front of it with nothing going on from Macomb points westward. So this could very well maintain strength and pose a threat to areas just south of Burlington coming up in the next hour or so.
Yeah, eventually it could be making its way across the river into Illinois itself. Peter, you got something?
I got the 3D profile of it, and it's pretty darn clear, you could say, at least in terms of what you can get from this distance. What you're looking at here, so kind of you see this white line, this is that cross section. So we're going in a line kind of from near Burlington down towards Donaldson there. And look at that corner right here. This is where the mouse is. That's lining up with that radar warning right there, that little green dot. That's what we're seeing right here. And look at that spin you're seeing there at the bottom. That black kind of mixed with that red with the green. We're getting velocity signatures going each direction right around 40 knots. One going one way, one going the other, which is right around 50 miles per hour, one going towards, one going away from the radar. And that's usually a pretty good indicator of some very good spin that we're seeing there in the atmosphere near it.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing how, Peter, you've been, examining some of these storms and how you can really verify it even more just by the 3D form that we're noticing and how the structure is behaving and why we can actually verify that even from the reports that we've been getting from some of the viewers out there as well. Looks like we got a new flash flood warning out, and I have a feeling I know where that may be. I'm curious of where that is. I would say it's probably the storm. Yep, in southeastern parts or southern parts of Henry County.
There it is. Yep. Let's pop up the details, see what we've got going on here. We'll query that. You've got Cambridge in there, areas north of Woodhall also in that flash flood warning. Let's see how long that is in effect for, until 2 a.m. And that stretches all the way east through Kewaunee as well. A reminder that on its current trajectory, that storm, we may increase the flash flood threat even more in Bureau County if it continues to maintain its strength, because as you can see on the radar presentation, still some very, very heavy rain, and that is going to continue to move eastward here and hit Princeton dead on, it looks like, once again. That area has already picked up more than 2 inches of rain based on spotter reports and also Doppler radar estimations. That whole corridor has just really been soaked this evening. North of Woodhall, where you see that dark orange, could even see some isolated reports of 3 inches or more of rain, where you've got the darker orange, the yellow indicating 2 to 3 inches, and then that dark green, that almost John Deere green, is 1 to 2 inches of rain.
Yeah, and all that is certainly downstream. Of course, that's not going to have any impact when it comes to the Rock or even the Mississippi River itself. But I think most would agree that that is going to be some well-needed rain. We're just concerned that it's just coming down at such a rapid rate. And as Andrew just mentioned, the amount of rainfall that has already taken place there, that is certainly a concern.
Holy wow.
And the intensity is, as you can see, very impressive just outside the town of Kewaunee itself, just between Anawan and Kewaunee.
More than 6 inches. I mean, some of this, again, hail contamination.
Yep.
Maybe inflating the numbers.
Yep.
But I think it's easy to say it's likely exceeding 2 to 3 inches per hour at this point.
That
Maybe
would
not
make
6.5, but 2 to 3 easily.
Yeah, I was going to say the hail's backscattering that like crazy.
Yeah. Kind of throwing off the algorithm a little bit. But yeah, this is
But
some
that's still very
intense
impressive,
rain.
though, with those type of
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
That's really still very impressive.
Those twos make sense.
Yeah, not a fun time to be traveling around Interstate 80 by Anawan, that's for sure. I'm
No.
sure that rain is blinding and traffic probably slowing down to a crawl at this point. Very heavy rain. Yep, right in the core of it, too. There you see the brightest colors there. Looks like
They just put out a new polygon here.
there's a new polygon, and notice the color that we've got of said polygon. Now the question is, which one is going to pop up in the banner? Are we going to get the flash flood warning, or that's the one I wanted? Okay, 9:45 again. This is an update to that warning there, going into Kewaunee. But notice the change now. In the upper right-hand corner of your screen, we have that tornado development possible, in addition to quarter-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. Why the tornado development possible? Well, we're looking kind of into velocity here.
It's just north of Kewaunee, maybe.
Perhaps something, right north of
Yeah,
town.
it could be north of Kewaunee, but you know what, guys? It seems like maybe, are they focusing a little bit more on that gust front? I mean, I have to take that back because, the polygon is actually just west of that, but it's really hard. And of course, we got a lot of, wind machines out there.
Yeah. Yep.
And that could be cluttering it up in a way, but it's really hard to determine where that is. I was going to say that maybe the gust front, but that's already east of Kiwani. Okay, thought maybe something could be just ahead of that, but this just came out, and likely maybe the the rotation could be maybe right on top of Kiwani, as Peter just mentioned.
Yeah, if we want to pull up my background here, it's got a little bit clear, kind of green versus red right now. It kind of picturizes it a little bit better, but it's so broad. I mean, I know it's kind of, you're seeing that coloring change there, guys, but you see what I'm talking about? That kind of paints the picture where they're seeing that rotation, but that's just about to clear from the area too. So that's a little bit surprising as well, because that's so broad. So I wouldn't think that's tight enough for anything, for any sort of major signature that would kind of go their way.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, Peter, if you see that little icon right next to Kiwani. If you hit that,
that's indicating hail. So that's 1.23 inch hail. So if it was upside down, we'd be looking at a tornado potential.
Right.
But the only real coloring you can see here, and I have another product that kind of similar scenario playing out, it makes it even more vibrant, almost like a Christmas tree, you could say. But yeah, that's kind of where the only area is. And if, I don't know, what's the timing on this?
9:45.
9:45. So they're lasting 30 minutes too. Interesting.
Yeah.
You're getting something 50 knots in terms of wind gusts, which is close to 60 miles an hour. It could be what James said earlier. Perhaps it's the strong winds on the front end of the storm, and then maybe you just get the perfect combination of that gust front, maybe a quick spin up on the leading edge is maybe what they're highlighting with that possibility, especially because we can't really find anything sticking out with a sore thumb and velocity data.
Yeah.
So perhaps it's maybe that quick spin up threat.
And we have to keep in mind too that these images come out every 2 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Okay, so even though we might have seen maybe some brief circulation here, now the storm is already, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think the storm is now trying to pick up a little bit more speed and make its way out of that recent polygon too.
Picking up speed, and as I'm looping the velocity data, it looks like the wind is picking up a little bit more.
There's actually maybe even a little bend that is going on here.
Yep.
That may show, and going in with that, with the velocity mode, it kind of parallels to that. So we could be talking about some of that strong wind that's getting ready, is making its way through the Neponset area itself, and continues to make its way all to the east. But I have a feeling they're going to probably, discontinue that warning, just because we're starting to see this storm finally kind of pick up a little bit more speed eastward around the area. But yes, concern is going to be more possible flooding in this area as that storm makes its way right into that green polygon into parts of Bureau County. Of course, we got, this is not a new, no, this is the same severe thunderstorm warning that we have going on just north of the Quad Cities itself. Let's go first talk about the hail size and the probability. Seeing a little bit of that hail maybe possibly taking place there, but the probability is been holding its own as far as maybe approaching that quarter size, which causes that damage. This, of course, was put out by the National Weather Service on this particular warning that is likely going on, looking at the clock. I think this is a 9:45, I believe, warning.
Yep.
But here's the track that we see here from Comanche at maybe just after 9:30, Fenton around 9:47 or so. Okay, so that warning continues for those areas, at least the storms that are the towns that will be impacted by that part of the storm as it makes its way off to the south and east. But you can see really the only concern, once again, this is a low impact severe thunderstorm warning that we see, or given the fact that there are signs that we could be approaching quarter size hail from this storm that continues to make its way between McCausland and even around Cordova itself. Comanche will be grazed by this part of the hail core that continues to make its way from pretty much from west to east. So you may just miss out on that or get grazed by it within the next 10 minutes or so.
Definitely worth watching there. And then, of course, what we're still watching is that impressive storm down in Lee County on the Iowa side of the river there, just west of Fort Madison, where you still have that ongoing tornado warning. I want to go zip back there really quick. You can see the polygon for the tornado warning, of course, has shrunk in size now that the rotation is moving eastward, but we're still getting, and I might have to go back up to the other radar presentation here, because again, it gets a little bit messy when we're this far south. I think the radar is switching between modes right now, which is why we're not getting the two different colors. So we may have to check back with the velocity in a few minutes. But definitely still continuing to look very impressive, especially, and I think Peter can probably show this a little bit better on the GR product. Looks like just now east of Franklin, south of West Point, kind of heading up. Looks like it would go just north of Fort Madison.
Yep, I'm pulling it up right now. We'll get another cross section here too, kind of that puts into perspective where it's at really well. So let me get this pulled up here.
Right, it could be right there on 61 and 218.
Let's see, yeah, you can kind of see right near Donaldson there. There's that indicator actually. That's of some hail. And then we can do the cross section here. So let me get our tool there, kind of draw it across. And then we can switch that to our velocity. And we'll flip it around, rotate it. It's kind of on that back end, still kind of near Donaldson, pardon me. If you see that kind of on that very left corner of your screen.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll point that out. There's that kind of dip right here. Again, we're seeing that rotation kind of sink towards the surface. When it comes to where we are in this line, we're looking right about right here on this white line. So right outside of Donaldson, just south of Franklin, like they were talking about. That's where we're seeing with the data right now, at least with that visualization 3D. I know it's far away, but this kind of helps paint the picture better about where that kind of tornado potential could be right now and if it's making its way down to the surface.
Very good explanation there. And I love the 3D visual that we're able to get. Right? Really helps you see the structure of the storm, what we're talking about, how intense, how far up into the storm that rotation actually goes. Very, very helpful information. Let's go back to the radar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to peel off the radar itself, and we're going to just show the warnings and the warnings only so you can see what we've got left at this current time, just to kind of get our bearings again. So we still have an ongoing severe thunderstorm warning. This is for parts of northern Scott County, so Eldridge to Cordova to DeWitt, heading right through Livermore and also south of Clinton. That is still in play with that storm, and that brings a hail threat. There you see the details, 9:45, so we got about 20 minutes left on that. Other warnings still in place across the area include this. Though looking at the radar, it kind of moved out of the area already. So may be able to call the all clear. Let's put the radar back on here. Yeah, I would say we're done with that.
They're going to be, we don't have to worry about that one.
I was wondering if it was a collaboration with our friends at the Lincoln office. That could have been why I got.
Could have potentially, yeah, because it is close to Knox County. So.
And Starker as well.
That is the potential. So just those two for severe thunderstorm warnings, nothing to the far north. And then, of course, keeping an eye on what's going to happen with that tornado warning there in Lee County on the Iowa side. Also, don't forget, we've seen very heavy rainfall in parts of Henry County on the Illinois side of the river. You have a flash flood warning south of Orion. It goes all the way through Cambridge, Woodhull, north of you, through Kewaunee. That is until 2 a.m. There's an additional flash flood warning for parts of Bureau County, including Sheffield, Wyanett, Princeton, Depew. You're included in there right along Interstate 80, both sides of the interstate, and that will go until midnight. If you live near a creek or stream, you may notice that rising. Some ditches might be full. Of course, as we always say, you never cross a flooded roadway. It's especially dangerous at night. And don't forget, the flash flood threat could be increasing here a little bit more into Bureau County because you're getting that next wave of heavy rain-producing thunderstorms. Radar indicating this area has already seen about 2 inches worth of rain. This could bring another additional inch, maybe a little bit more on top of what you've already seen. So traveling along Interstate 80, that's going to continue to go downhill, especially into Princeton as that line moves in.
All right. What we're going to do eventually here, and I'm going to let people in the booth, just warn the people in the booth, that we're going to go back to network in about 5 minutes or so. If we could actually do that right around 9:30 itself, so we can actually prepare for the telecast going on at 10 p.m. But it doesn't mean that we are completely done with the severe weather coverage. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor these few remaining warnings that are going on. More importantly, that one warning that's going on just west of Fort Madison itself. So we'll definitely be monitoring that. Of course, if it continues to make its way off to the east, then I will certainly be able to go on the News 8 Plus app and allow more coverage of that storm as it makes its way off toward the east, so we can give Peter a rest. More importantly, give Andrew a rest so we can get ready for Good Morning Quad Cities come tomorrow. We can't thank these guys enough, of course Morgan as well, for the fantastic job that they have done. Of course, with John keeping us updated on the videos, the photos, power outages that may be going on. Everyone has to work together here at this station to make this severe weather coverage possible and make it successful. So when we have all the resources together, it does make the picture so much clearer for you, the viewer out there, and why we continue to appreciate the comments from you, keeping you updated with this coverage, especially if you're being impacted by some of these storms. So looking at the clock here, in about 4 minutes or so, we're going to go to network and eventually get back to programming and certainly get ourselves prepped up for the 10 o'clock show. And of course, any more warnings, we'll let you know during our newscast heading in toward 10 o'clock. But it certainly has been an impressive 4 hours or so, or close to it. At least my body feels like it's been close to 4 hours on nonstop coverage. But we'll continue to update this for you. Once again, there's only a severe thunderstorm warning just north of the Quad Cities. That continues to produce some pretty good rain, still holding itself together. Still a little concern about maybe a little hail here from this storm as it now crosses the river, and very likely will be impacting Morrison here in just a few minutes time, Prophetstown, and likely heading toward Sterling Rock Falls off of 88 as that makes its way off toward the east. So that's one warning there, and of course a tornado warning that's just outside of our viewing area. We're just a little concerned that it may produce a warning, possibly more of a severe thunderstorm warning in areas around southern Henderson County, which does include our viewing area. So that's Henderson County, they're strongest right there. Of course, there's Burlington. So we'll have to keep an eye on those storms as they make their way off toward the south and east. I'll be looking forward to some of the storm reports that we have seen across eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois. I'll be even more impressed too with the rainfall amounts that we have had from these clusters of storms that have been making their way across the area as well. But this is the only tornado warning that we have, and like we said, the only severe thunderstorm warning to our north. Of course, it was a much different story earlier on where we had multiple warnings taking place, severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings. Now we're dealing with some very heavy rain with those green polygons in parts of Henry and Bureau County, and even extending even farther eastward going into LaSalle. But the worst of these storms are now being focused more off to the east, and likely it will make your way to the south and east. This is actually a history of those storms that popped up, I would say, between 5 and 6 p.m. as they started in areas to our south, just blossomed in areas right along the Highway 34 corridor, and really became rather impressive with the storm heights that we saw from this, with multiple hail size of golf balls, baseball, and one, of course, that we were caught us off guard in Winfield, Iowa, billiard-size hail. I'll never forget that one that took place. But these are all the hail reports. Nothing as far as really pea size or even quarter size. A lot of these were more golf ball size that took place even in areas to the north of us, where we've had temperatures in the 40s and even in the 50s, okay? But since this was a very dynamically driven storm, it wouldn't take much to produce the hail that we saw around here. So we'll update you on these reports that have been going on, and anything that we've heard from any possible damage, especially maybe out there in around Farmington, just south and west of the Burlington area, we'll let you know right here on News 8. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and we'll see you at News 8 at 10. Nope. All right.
All right, I believe we are here. Hello, Quad Cities. We're back on the air because we have a brand new tornado warning to tell you about, and this is for parts of Bureau County. We want to get right to the radar so we can show you exactly where this is at. We've seen some tightening of some rotation, and this is in southeast Bureau County, so south of Princeton, near Depew. That's where you have this tornado warning that is currently in place until 10:30. So we've got a while to go on this, but it has been showing some signs, especially here you can see a little broad rotation just to the north of Hennepin. That's kind of been our area of concern right there southwest of Depew. That's where we're seeing some of that rotation take place, and that is what has prompted this tornado warning. So right now it is radar indicated. We do not have spotter confirmation of this tornado, but certainly it looks like there's enough spin there that we have the ingredients coming together. Now, let's put the loop on this and see the evolution of how this has been kind of evolving here. And we're noticing too that this is going kind of due east. So we're not seeing a lot of northeastward movement on there. So Depew, absolutely kind of in the line right now in the near term. As this continues to move to the east, we're talking about areas north of Granville and south of Hall, kind of right along Illinois 29. That is a good starting point to kind of start tracking this. So if you're familiar with where Illinois 29 is, as it runs through kind of north of Depew there, that is exactly where that rotation is currently tracking. In fact, you can kind of see it on the radar signature really well here, where we look for that notch or that bend in the reflectivity display. Here it is right here. And we also have some surging forward, which also could produce a brief spin up along the leading edge of that corridor of some stronger winds. Now, if you're looking at the hail probability, yes, hail is possible up to 1 inch in diameter. It's kind of getting a little contaminated, though, because we're getting farther away from the radar. But it certainly seems like we definitely have some rotation that is there right now in southeast Bureau County.
Yeah, and that's just one of two warnings that are going on around the area. This is until 10:30, of course. And once it does make its way out of our viewing area, out of Bureau County, then we'll give the all clear when it comes to areas off toward the east. So keep that in mind. A tornado is radar indicated here as that continues to make its way off toward the east. So definitely around Hennepin, definitely around Granville. You are definitely in the path of that storm, maybe even around Depew as well. Keep that in mind as that storm continues to quickly advance its way off toward the east. Now, this is the same storm that has produced multiple rounds of hail and even some wind, a lot of lightning as well. Now that storm has made its way off to the east itself, and Andrew is putting a tracker on that as we get to places like around Hall, Standard, LaSalle, Peru, just before 10 o'clock itself. So that's another 13 more minutes or so before it eventually impacts you. So hopefully you are heading to your safe place, getting as many walls between you and that storm that is approaching your area. Of course, we have flooding warnings, flash flood warnings that are out along this border, right along the I-80 corridor and points southward. Those are going to continue on till around midnight. These are areas where we've seen about a good 2 inches of rain, and now with that extra amount of rain that is falling from these particular storms, that's just going to enhance it even more so. So that is, we'll keep an eye on that, certainly as we make our way in the next couple of hours. We haven't heard any reports as far as any serious flooding that's going on, so that is some fairly good news, but that may be changing in the next couple of hours or so. We might even get an update come early tomorrow morning on Good Morning Quad Cities. As of whether we take the wider screen out here, once again, we are only keeping an eye on that one storm that is now making its way into southwestern Henderson County, outside of Burlington there. And that storm still has a possibility of maybe having a little bit of some rotation, as indicated by that kind of canary color that we see there in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. That, at least with the help of our algorithms, are indicating that a tornado is still possible. We had reports out of Farmington. That's, of course, well west of Donaldson itself, near Fort Madison. of that possible rotation. This storm can actually still produce some dollar-sized hail as it continues to make its way off to the east. And with the downdrafts coming down ahead of that storm, we can't rule out a good rush of wind as well. So this severe thunderstorm warning goes until around 10:30 tonight, which is probably another, 40 minutes ago when it comes to this warning. Hard to detect when it comes to the wind velocity out of this. If we actually go into that velocity mode, really hard to detect. Once again, we're so far away from the radar that it's very likely picking up the middle structure of this storm itself. But if we had to kind of pinpoint it, looks like areas right just between Burlington and Fort Madison, there could be some rotation, but not as impressed as what we saw as it made its way through Farmington and even around Donaldson itself. So there may be some good news there, but if we had to kind of indicate where that possible rotation is, Andrew's kind of showing is probably right just south and west of the Stronghurst area in Henderson County. And we kind of gave an idea of, where the lightning is taking place, where the core of that lightning is going on. We kind of focus at it just a little bit more off to the east of that, and that at least helps us out as far as possibly seeing that sign of maybe some broader rotation that may be taking place. Hail doesn't look all too impressive, as you can see. So if we're seeing any hail, likely it could be more pea-size that may be taking place between Burlington and just north and west of Lomax. This continues to make its way off toward the east at around probably like 40 miles an hour or so. And the amount of lightning that we've noticed like about 20 minutes ago to about now has really begun to drop. So that is some fairly good news. In fact, we just got a latest update. It was as high as 80 or 93 right there. Now it's picked up again. My goodness. It's really given me, this is a bit of a challenge here, but we have been noticing kind of the amount of lightning happening in the past 5 minutes or so. It was down as low as 18. Now it looks like it's popped up again. So once again, we'll keep an eye on this, questioning whether this warning will extend even farther eastward into the rest of southern Henderson County and eventually points eastward in toward Warren County. But that right now appears to be the strongest storm that we see, at least when it comes to our viewing area, as it moves from west to east. That tornado warning still going on in parts of Putnam County right there, right around Granville itself. And that's where possibly some rotation is going on, right in the heart of it, right between Depew and Granville. From the help of our radar, that could be where some type of rotation is taking place. But once again, like we've been seeing south of Burlington itself, it's so far away from the beam, it's becoming a bit of a challenge. So we pretty much have to rely on the reflectivity mode that we have going on here. And at least I would say, yeah, between Depew and Granville, looks like now just north of Granville. Is that actually, yeah, and LaSalle, I think that's just west of Peru. That's LaSalle. So between LaSalle and Granville is probably where, some type of broad rotation is taking place as that storm continues its eastward progress.
Yeah, I agree on the placement of that. And you notice it's kind of got a bowing forward signature that's going on with this storm as well. That is something that could potentially have just a very brief spin up kind of on the forward end of this. And that's likely why the tornado warning was issued. In fact, the National Weather Service was just kind of getting a little discussion on why this was the case. And it appears that it was interacting with an outflow boundary that was still kind of in place and mixing with some of the storm energy, some of that unstable air that's been sitting in this region for quite a while now. So that is what prompted kind of this quick spinning, this quick rotation with this portion of the storm. But yeah, I agree. I think it's between Granville and at that point, probably close to Hall, maybe a little bit south of, say, Route 6 there, to the west of LaSalle, Peru, especially where you have that forward surge here. On the radar, kind of indicating a little bit more forward movement than the rest of the line.
So we're probably getting some pretty good wind up there, maybe around 50, maybe even close to 60 miles an hour as that makes its way off to the east. So that's the biggest concern that we see here. But that's the only reports that we've been getting at least with the synopsis side of this particular storm as it makes its way off to the east. And once again, it's very much a challenge when we're so far out going to this velocity mode. But if we actually able to kind of break this down a little bit for the history of this, it kind of shows that, and we're right on the precipice as far as going from one color table on the radar and the velocity mode to the other. But this is kind of what we're looking at here, especially right here, just south of LaSalle itself. That could very likely be where that rotation is going on, but it's literally just minutes away from making its way out of Putnam County. So hopefully we'll be in the clear here in just a little bit. So, you know, here we've been dealing with numerous reports of severe weather that has been going on across the area, certainly at the case in areas more south of Interstate 80 itself. Farther north, it's been more of more hail threats than anything that has been taking place. Now we're dealing with some just your average run-of-the-mill type of showers and thunderstorms that are going on as they continue to make their way off to the west, off to the east, I should say. So not worried about these storms at all. We got that one more storm still located where the boundary is in area just along and south of Highway 34. So this is why this storm is still hanging on. But this is going to be a situation where the boundary itself, as we've been talking about for a number of days, and its position is eventually going to make its way a bit more off to the south and east. And that's going to allow us to get back to those warm jackets again, going into the rest of the night, likely talking about temperatures dropping in the mid-30s. And then heading into tomorrow, you definitely want to keep that warm jacket with you because even though we are expected to see some improvement in our skies, maybe hopefully get a little sun out of this, we're going to see some pretty cool numbers roll in with highs expected around those lower 40s. So that's kind of what we're anticipating once this boundary makes its way off to the south and east, and likely keeping it pretty cool too in the days ahead as well. I think the warmest temperature that we're looking at could very likely take place come Thursday, and I'm only looking at a high of 50 degrees, and that does come with a little wind. Eventually, it's going to lead to even cooler numbers going into the following weekend, and especially going into early next week, Monday and Tuesday, as we're looking at the possibility of seeing daytime highs only in the low to mid-30s. It looks like we have, from the help of our little trusty phone here, a brand new tornado warning. And is it just their way of saying we continue with this tornado warning?
I think that's what it is, because I don't see anything new popping up in terms of a new tornado warning. So I think that one is just an update to the existing that's going on here.
Because, yeah, I thought maybe they might have extended that one that's around Burlington and made that way eastward, but nothing has changed from that. So that's some good news. But it's still, you can see, you can see the small town of LaSalle right there, okay? And there's Peru. So, yeah, this storm is just getting ready to make its way out of the area, and eventually they may go ahead and, just looking at the time here, is just a few minutes until 10 o'clock, likely see this be canceled. And what do you know?
It is canceled.
It is canceled.
It is canceled.
How about that? So that is good. To our south and west, just want to make sure. Okay, so yeah, we're looking pretty good here. Once again, we'll continue to monitor that storm just south of the Burlington area. So we got a few minutes to go until we eventually start our 10 o'clock show, and I want to make sure in the booth, are we still good to start the newscast at 10 o'clock? Okay, 2 minutes. So we're going to go and take a small break here, and then we'll begin our newscast at Oh, we're going to fill it? You want me to fill it? I can fill it. We can do that. We can do that. We can certainly do that.
fill it.
Absolutely. It's just 2 minutes. It's like a typical Maine weather, right?
That's right. That's
that
right.
we do. But yeah, you can. So basically here on the live radar, still a few clusters of showers and thunderstorms that are going on. Of course, it's so nice to get some of that rain in the ground. Of course, we don't have to worry about the frozen ground anymore. So as long as we're able to get that rain in the ground, we're looking a little bit better going into the growing season. We still need a little bit more rainfall. I believe we're a good still 2 inches below what we're normally supposed to see, and that's pretty low, okay? So hopefully we start seeing some more active weather as we go through this month of March. But you can see, obviously, where the heaviest of the rainfall took place, right along that boundary. That has been where most of the activity has been going on. The yellows, that's indicating at least 2, maybe close to 3 inches of rain. But when you get that orange, that's when you're seeing a good 3 inches. Some local areas in this area could be even a little bit more than that. And a lot of this came down at a very short time frame, okay? And that's why we issued those, or I should say the National Weather Service issued those flash flood warnings that are still in existence until midnight for parts of Henry and going into Bureau County as well. So we'll see what happens as we get to midnight. The good news is we have not heard about any flooding damage or anything like that, so that is some fairly good news. Still a few more scattered showers and thunderstorms on the radar. We'll talk more about that coming up on our newscast at 10 o'clock. We'll see you then.
From WQAD, News 8 at 10 starts right now.
Thanks for joining us on the air and streaming on the News 8 Plus app. Tonight we've been under a weather impact